Welcome to Self Perfected.
Okay, all right, Christine. I did not even hit go live yet, but that's okay. It's
I
okay.
mean,
Hang on.
now we're doing it anyways.
We're
Why is
going
that
anyways.
okay?
Huh? No. We're on now. We're live now. What's up, everybody?
So, Sea God has her own timing.
We follow the timing of our sea god.
Yes.
Dude, this week has been a lot of fun. You sent me a lot of stuff that I was just like, it's
I was doing a lot of work on the property, so a lot of time to listen to stuff.
I see. I see.
But yeah,
Where to
what's
start?
going on? Yeah, where do I start? Where do we start? Uh, you can't just jump into it.
No, 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 no.
Let's start with this. Let's just start with tell me about you were talking about Abel was saying something about some silly business he was learning about Islam because I've been learning a lot about Islam.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, no, he was telling me about he's been watching these like Christian Muslim debates. Actually, he was telling me this thing that was really crazy. He was like, okay, so I've been watching these debates, and one particular guy um has said something really controversial. And what he said was, it is better to have a to be a Muslim and follow Allah than to be a Christian, right? But he goes even a step further and says it is better to be a gay Muslim.
I saw that thumbnail. I didn't watch it, but I saw it on my YouTube. Yeah.
He's like, it's creating a lot of controversy
How can you
because
be a gay Muslim?
I don't even know.
It doesn't make sense because the whole idea of Islam is that you follow the commandments of God
Right,
perfectly.
right. But he says, so apparently the argument is something along the lines of like, it is better to uh to be a gay Muslim because at least then your offense is against humanity, not against God. Versus being a Christian, it's like it's an offense against God because you're following a man instead of God. Like you're calling a man God, right? And so somebody asked him, would you rather have a gay son who's Muslim or a Christian son? And he was like, a gay son is Muslim. And apparently, so there was apparently in this debate or whatever, there was another like a convert from Christianity to Islam. And he was like, I I I guess I'm just not a good enough Muslim yet. Like he saw it as like well, I gotta get to that level.
Well, first of all, how can you actually what's the word I'm looking for? How can you have not comparison? How can there be relative levels of good or bad?
Yeah.
And also, how do you distinguish that there's a difference between sinning against humans versus sinning against God?
Offending humans versus offending God. There's a you can see a difference there, right? Like, if I offend you
No,
because
because okay. So
if
here's my point.
okay, okay, go ahead, say yours, and I'll
Well,
say mine.
well, why is it even offensive to be gay in
Okay,
their
okay,
context?
okay, but that aside, I'm just gonna move that aside for the moment.
Oh, okay.
Um, Christ is King might be offensive to you as a human, you puny fucking human, but it's not offensive to my God. Hmm. Yep, gotcha.
Then why is it a problem if I'm Christian?
Oh, well, because I'm actually Muslim. And so
But
so
why is it a problem if why would you rather have a gay son than a Christian son?
because that's offensive to God. Okay.
But you said saying Christ is king is offensive to a human, not God.
Well, okay. I'm saying if I'm Muslim now. If I was Christian saying
No, no,
Christ
no.
is king,
Yeah, I'm saying
it'd be
if you're a Muslim.
yeah.
Oh, wait. Sorry. If you were a Christian saying Christ is king,
Yeah, then it would be offensive to humans, not to God, right?
saying
So if I
Christ is king,
yeah,
if you're Christian,
to somebody who's not Christian, that's their whole argument. That a Christian
that doesn't make
saying
sense.
no, the Christians, when they
Uh-huh.
say Christ is king, they're
Yeah.
like, that's not offensive. You took offense to it. That's offensive to you as a human being, but it's not offensive to God to say Christ is king, right? That's what a
But the
Christian would
Christian
argue.
believes that Christ is king.
Right, exactly.
But why would you taking offense or not have anything to do with whether God takes offense?
No, that's what I'm saying is like there because you had
Okay.
originally asked, can you
But
have
is
an offense for a human? How can you have an offense for a human but not for God? Right?
but the
And I'm
Christian
saying,
doesn't accept it's an offense at all.
okay, yeah, sure, sure.
So
But
I'm
a
saying
human can
is
be offended by it, is what I'm saying.
okay, but let me go back. So the Muslims, right?
Hmm.
They don't want people to be gay.
Right,
They don't want people to be Christian.
right.
They're saying it's better to be a this person, this one guy. Maybe no one agrees with him, but this
Yeah,
one
yeah,
guy
yeah. I'm sure
says
it's
that
this one.
it's better to be a gay Muslim. I think this is
Which
his way of coming out of the closet, perhaps.
maybe because I've heard of there being gay Muslims, but they literally fear for their lives because they think they're going to be killed by their family members if they were to come out.
Why are they Muslim?
Oh, they were born that way. Then
It's a
don't you?
choice, just like being gay.
It's not a choice. You have a fitra, okay? Okay, a fitra. And so you're everyone's born that way. You were actually born Muslim. I don't know if you knew that.
but but then you have to accept Islam. Therefore, you have to accept that you're being gay is wrong.
Yeah, you do.
So how are you still Muslim if you're gay?
Well, first of all, okay. There's only like five principles that you really have to keep. Okay. One is that Allah is the one true God. Like there's only one God and it's Allah and that he sent his messenger, Muhammad. Okay. That's all part one, actually. I don't know
Okay.
why Muhammad has to be the messenger as part of one, but that's in there. Yeah.
Yeah, why
Two,
can't it just be you just accept that there's one supreme God,
no, no,
Allah?
no, no.
Why does it matter if you
Also
accept that
Muhammad,
message?
remember? God, jeez, peace be upon him too.
Jesus.
Peace be upon him too.
Let's make
Two,
a religion where literally our prophet, you like dump peas on them.
oh, peace be upon him.
Yeah,
Ah, yeah, I like it.
that would
I
be funny.
Yeah.
And we are like trying to create world peace.
Everyone grows peas in their backyard.
And you have to put it in a washing machine to whirl them.
That was
And that's
funny.
your rituals that you do. You
That
just
was
every day you wash your peas.
I sent Katie a voice message. She has not responded yet, but I sent her
Okay.
a voice message. It was for Max actually. What do you call a desert sorceress?
But sandwich.
Hey, you got it.
Um, okay, let's go back. Let me try to understand this. So Muslims.
What I'm saying is being gay was not one of the things in
You're right,
their.
I get that. But then what's the why would it but it must be a problem in Islam.
Oh, definitely it is.
So why is it a problem is the question.
It's probably in one of the hadiths that we did not read.
Therefore, it's a part of what God is commanding. Otherwise, why would it? So all I'm trying to say is their argument that you can offend humans versus offend God is bullshit because why can't you be gay then? Isn't it because God doesn't want you to be gay? Like, otherwise, what justification do you have of saying you shouldn't be gay anyways?
Well, clearly
If their
they're
point
not the
was just, I'm
smartest
offended by
people.
gay people, then why would it even be a question? Because no, clearly Islam somehow apparently is against being gay.
Yeah,
I'm going to look it up.
yeah. We,
Why can't I
we can
be
ask one of our
gay
former.
and is
Can you share your screen? I want to see. I want to see what you typed into Google.
I just said, why
Google's
can't I be gay in Islam?
and Google's like, Listen, man, you
Al
can be whatever
Jazeera.
you want. You're gonna start getting ads for
Can
it.
Muslims be gay? But it's all like propaganda stuff. It's all like it's all I want like the actual hadith. The Islamic states, I can't
Yeah,
find anything that's actually why does Islam forbid it? Okay, here we go.
uh-huh.
So this is from islamqa.info. So
Can you share your screen
yeah.
and do it with you in the corner?
Okay. Like
Yeah, like that.
right there. There we go. Can you see what I'm doing?
No, I can only see you just like outlined.
Oh,
Now
it
I
actually
see
did
your
it.
screen.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah.
was wondering. I was like, how do you know what I'm doing? All right. Anyway, so Islam question and answer. This looks like some serious stuff. Okay.
This looks like Quora for for Islam.
Islam question and answer. I mean, it looks pretty legit. It looks pretty pro Islam. It doesn't look like it's some because
Sure.
everything else was like all, basically Google wants you to be like, oh, it's not a big deal. Actually, it's bullshit, right? See
Mm-hmm.
what I mean?
Hmm.
But we know that's not true. Okay.
Oh, I see you
Could
went
you
to the one that's
please?
all in Arabic.
Okay. So homosexuals go against the natural disposition, which see the fitra again, which Allah has created in mankind. The spread of homosexuality has caused man diseases.
Oh,
Okay, I don't know about that.
you never heard of
Homose-
AIDS?
well, we could do a whole episode on that. How it's just a scam. Homosexuality and lesbianism cause the breakup of the family and lead people to. These are all reasonable responses.
Mm-hmm.
But where is the actual? Uh, uh, I don't think it's in the Quran. Maybe references. Oh, in the Quran. Here we go. I remember Lot when he said to his people, "Do you commit the worst sin? Uh, verily, you practice your lust on men instead of women. Violent stones. Okay. You commit sodomy, the worst sin.
Oh, sodomy. There. Yeah, I get it. Okay.
So it's all going back to like the Lot stuff. The Sunnah. I don't even know what that is. There is nothing I fear for my Ummah more than the deed of the people of Lot.
So it all
The
goes back to Lot.
prophet, the prophet peace be upon him. Cursed is the one who has intercourse with an animal. Oh, and gay people are animals, therefore.
Oh, okay,
What is
okay.
why did they throw this one in there? What does that have to do with
uh,
whoever you find doing the deed of the people of Lot, kill the one who does it, and to whom it is done.
oh, dang. That's
Now we know why they've
wow.
been throwing them off the buildings.
Okay, so they look at Lot as like Sodom and Gomorrah. They're like, yeah, the sodomy thing. We're not about it at all. Which I guess
So,
is
but
why
anyways,
they
there
also
there is
don't.
clearly some way in which look, I'm not saying all of that made sense, but I mean the part about the breakup of the family thing made more sense. Like the part where they were just giving a rational argument for whether it was best or not, that part made sense.
Uh,
All the
uh,
other parts,
yeah,
but my point was just like clearly in the religion, it's like you shouldn't be gay, you shouldn't be doing sodomy stuff or whatever, right?
right.
Clearly that is there. So
Yeah.
is it because it's offensive to humans, or was it because God said don't do it and
God
clearly
said don't
punish
do it.
people? So what is this bullshit of like, well, you can offend humans but not God? Like you see, that's like a bullshit argument
Yeah. Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
being gay isn't had to do with offending people. It was like God said don't do it.
Listen, okay, from the perspective of the guy who said it, it was a stupid argument. I agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
Okay.
I still think you can offend humans and not God, you know?
You can't because there's no God.
Ah! Why?
This goes to my whole
Why?
point. Like I've really been looking at all this. I've been looking at all the contradictions of all the different points, right? And
Yeah.
maybe we could do some stuff, but put some things up there. But I was listening to this thing about Islam, and the guy was going through. He was like an apostate, right? Which means he's gone away from Islam, right? Denies it, and he's like showing this whole thing where I don't know how much you've studied of it, but a big point of Islam, like probably one of the main points. Oh, we talked about it. Is like the Quran is a miracle that exists right now that you can see with your own eyes that doesn't have any contradictions. It's like just it's like imagine you had a cell phone back in like 1500s,
Yeah. Wow.
but it exists only by itself. There's no other phones, nothing, right? And it
Yeah.
works, and there's not even any cell towers or nothing. You'd be like, if someone was
That
like, "This is a gift from God," you'd be like, "Fuck, how do I deny that? It's so crazy. There's no fucking way." So
right,
that's
yeah.
kind of that's how the Muslims think about the Quran.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But then this one guy was going through and being like, how there's this part where it talks about Mary, like Jesus's mother.
Okay, I saw that one. But
Okay.
also talk about the part where it's like the sun setting in muddy water. Like,
Okay, I'll talk about that too.
yeah, 'cause
So,
that
and
doesn't.
I'm not just trying to pick on Islam, but
Okay, actually, hey, can we give more context? Because you'd sent that video that had like the thumbnail of Trump and his eye was like the eye and the dollar, and it was talking about like the Antichrist. You remember that one?
oh yeah, yeah. Was that the one about like the end times and the mark of the
Yeah, yeah,
beast and
that
all that
one.
shit? What about
Yeah.
it?
Because okay, you'd sent that video like earlier on in the week,
Mhm.
and just basically like this is one of the major problems with religion is because okay, I'll give the context. That video was basically talking about um how right now we're in debt like $35 trillion, and even if you spent since the time of Jesus $1 million per
Peace
day,
be upon him.
peace be upon him, you would never you would never reach $1 trillion like in the 2000 years since Jesus was supposedly walking the earth, right?
$1 million a day.
Yeah, 1 million times 365 times 2000, right? What you got?
But
Anyway.
I'm just pulling something up.
Okay. So anyway, the he was talking about like how we're in this huge debt. Japan is also in the huge debt.
15
And they
trillion. Canada's got like several billion debt. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it's crippling all these economies and bringing the world, there's like some force out there that's bringing the world to its knees. And he doesn't go into what is that force out there. He kind of makes it seem like it's just some evil force out there that's like somebody pulling the strings so that it can create the perfect conditions for the Antichrist, someone who is charismatic to come in with the solution to the world's debt and economy. And it'll look so good and enticing because it's the right solution and everybody will want it and need it so bad that they'll just accept this guy who is actually the Antichrist. That's what this video is saying, right? And I was just looking at that and like it's so fucked because it's clearly like we talk about the system having encryption, where it protects itself from any possible thing that could break down the system. And so like even okay, we present ourselves with the solution, the actual solution for, hey, what if we just implemented this equal money system? It makes perfect sense. And everybody can see it makes sense. And they actually want it. But now they have this thought in the back of their mind that's like, no, but that's the Antichrist. We can't accept the solution. So in other words, because of your religion, and we've said this multiple times, but because of your religion, you are not willing to actually accept a solution. You don't want a solution. You think your solution is in heaven after you die. And so you are actively, unconsciously preventing any real solution here on earth. And it's actually the result of your religion. even though you'll say out of your mouth, oh no, but God's gonna say this and that or whatever. It's like, no. And the other problem with it is, because he was mentioning this point of that people want a hero so bad they'll accept, you know, this person who will take advantage. And I agree with that. I agree with that. It's like we've been talking about that for years. But we've been talking about, you stop looking for a hero. Stop looking for somebody who's going to save you. And oh man, I won't say who, but somebody was sharing on the last hangout that we did. Um, they were sharing about uh, being a kid, having a stepmom who was really kind of like the stepmoms that you see in Disney movies, right? Where she would give this kid and his brothers like not enough food, that they all had to like share their food together. So, if they had a big meal, they got the end pieces of the meal, the scraps basically, and he had to share this amongst his brothers growing up. And the stepmom was mean to them, and they always felt like, man, they wish that their dad could see her being mean to them so that he would, get rid of her, or somebody would come and save them, because they had this idea of like literally the Disney movie that like, oh, some stepmom is mean to you, but eventually some hero comes in and saves you. And that's really like, that's what Disney movies do. They give you this idea of somebody will save you. So you're always constantly looking for a hero, right? But what's that saying, that the cavalry is not coming, right? You have to take responsibility for yourselves. And again, if you're looking for a hero to save this economy, it's not going to happen. We have the solution, but it takes all of us. It takes us all working together rather than looking for, because if you are looking for just one person, look at how people look up to Trump, or look up to do people actually look up to Kamala? I don't know. But people who look up to Elon Musk, let's say, or whoever it is that they think is going to save the world, like they're not the benevolent person that you think. I saw something as well the other day that was uh who's that girl who talks about Peter Thiel? You know what I'm talking about?
Whitney Webb.
Whitney Webb, yeah. And she was talking about Elon Musk, and she was just like, she was on Jimmy Dore, and Jimmy was like, well, what about Elon? Like he's done this really great thing for like truth and allowing people to have freedom of speech and all this stuff. And she's like, yeah, I guess if you like that, but I mean, if you really look at Elon, he does the same thing as Peter Thiel. Like all of his business is really government contracts. Like
Right.
he's got the surveillance system already in place, that with the satellites. Yes, it's giving you internet, but it's also like able to like watch all these different zones. It's part of this global net that's going on. So
Like
people
they
look
wouldn't
up,
be able to do what they're doing without the government
right.
contract. So he is beholden to it. Also, she made the point of, why does he have Twitter?
Yeah.
And you might say she's speculating. Oh, he bought.
No. See, and look, we start talking about Elon Musk, and your satellite just goes away, and he's like, I'm cutting off your Starlink. You can't talk about me. You see that? So it's literally Elon Musk is in control right now. He took out your Starlink
My
just because of
Starlink
that.
literally.
Oh, he took him out again. Hilarious, hilarious. Um, okay, are you
See, it never
connected to the
does
right
this
one?
otherwise.
Are you
This is
connected to the
literally,
right
it
one?
never does this. It never does this.
But never, ever. Are you connected to the right one though?
Yeah, if I wasn't, it wouldn't be working. But yeah, it's
Okay.
just when I'm transitioning sometimes. Um,
You were starting to say, why did he buy Twitter?
for the data. And that's what she says. But it's obvious. Like he didn't buy it for free speech. Although clearly he maybe wants Trump to win. So he knew if he didn't have control of it, they were going to use it like they did last time for Biden and so forth, right? So there's definitely a lot more quote free speech on there. But I was looking at this point of the actually no, he says it on the Lex Friedman podcast.
Hmm.
Okay, I don't know if I sent you that clip. I might have, but where he talks about where Lex Friedman's asking about the Neuralink,
Yeah.
and oh no, sorry, he's asking about
Grok.
Grok.
Yeah.
That's what it was, and he was saying how. Oh, okay, yeah, I know what it was. He was asking him what's the thing that gives you the advantage in AI? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? And he's like, it's all of those things. He made this point of
It being like a
um,
race car.
like a Formula One, like you can have the
Yeah.
fast car and the good driver. If you have a car that's half the speed, it doesn't matter how good your driver is, you're going to lose. If your
Yeah.
car is twice the speed, you can have an average driver and win.
Yeah.
So, but kind of seemed like he's saying that the speed is the important part, but
Right. But all the things are important, but speed.
all things being equal, having a slight advantage in speed and a better driver, or if it was a better driver, blah, blah, you could see how you could maybe make an argument if it's all really close margins.
Yeah.
But he made this cool point about he goes, it's really humbling when you see how little actual data we've created as human beings that exists that can be tokenized and that's unique that can be used to train AI. He's like, it's
Yeah.
already been used, all of it. He said, I'm sure they've already used all of the Twitter data that was available. He said, but now their Grok thing has real time instant access to it. So even if everyone's constantly scraping it, they're doing it slightly behind what the Grok AI is doing. If that
Yeah.
makes sense, right?
And
It's
then
like they have the real time.
he was also making the point of like the way that they're doing it with Brock is like somebody like verifies that this is likely to be real before they feed it into, because he was also making the point of like this point that we've made on the podcast, like if you're creating an AI, like do you want it to believe in Santa Claus? And he was making the point of just like even with the DEI stuff, with like, okay, so do you want it to have this idea that all the founding fathers were black women, like that doesn't make any sense. But he's like, but that's a silly example that doesn't really have a big consequence. You okay?
Yeah, I was just trying to throw something away and I put myself.
But he was saying if you tell the AI that diversity, like you have to have diversity, then what happens in the future where it's making decisions and there's not enough diversity, and diversity is a requirement at its basic level, and then said,
Right.
okay, well now we got to kill those
Right.
who are not diverse. And so
Well,
like,
if you're gonna make Skynet, do you want to program it like white men are evil, or
well,
anybody,
okay,
or men are evil, and it kills all men, and then now we can't reproduce?
but even that point of diversity of like you need to have diversity in the workplace, and you start
Mhm.
out with maybe 10 white guys and three, black and Hispanic. And then all of a sudden, now we're 20 years into the future and it's all black guys. Like, okay, now we got to get rid of all the black guys because no
Got it. Yeah,
diversity,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, because otherwise you got to switch it and be like, oh, now it's diverse.
Right.
Diverse means black only or something.
Right. Right. And like,
That's like
if
people
it,
say like, oh, Kamal is the most diverse candidate or something. And you're like, what does that even mean? Like, how can one person be diverse?
yeah,
Like,
what does
isn't
that?
diversity meaning like a bunch of things of variety? It's like,
It doesn't make any sense. Like, so wait, was Obama not as diverse as Kamala? Like,
but think about it. So being a woman is diverse
why is that diverse? That's 50%
because
of
it's
the
not a
human
man,
population.
but because it's not a man. Being black is diverse because it's not white.
There's literally
So like,
more blacks than whites on this
you know how
planet.
they use like, oh, there's like dog whistles and stuff. There's like a code.
Yeah.
Diverse equals not something.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, yeah.
not actual diversity, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Because like there's already diversity. Why do
I
you need
mean,
diversity in a particular area? It's like it's but then this goes kind of into the point of like what's human made versus what's existing quote naturally and so forth, right? Because there's
sure.
obviously a lot of natural diversity. Um, okay, but then the thing about Elon Musk was
The Grok. Oh, you just froze again. Oh. Literally every time Cameron goes to talk about Elon, he just freezes. Um, yeah. I don't know what you were gonna say.
literally when I said Elon Musk, it like
Yeah,
cut out.
literally every single time you say Elon.
No, but so the Twitter point, you have the real time access, et cetera, et cetera. But then he made this point about the robots because he said because he was asking about the Neuralink and how many they're going to be. Remember, he was saying like hundreds of
100
millions
million,
or
yeah.
something like that. And then he was talking about the robots and the carrying capacity for of the market for like cars, vehicles being like 100 million new cars a year.
Yeah.
And he gives all the math on that. And and then the carrying capacity of the market for humanoid robots when it's in gear is going to be 1 billion a year.
Yeah.
And he was explaining how, and this is a point I really see. It's like, remember we went podcast a few many episodes ago, we talked about like, why do they need to look like humans?
Yeah. Yeah.
Seems
Yeah.
weird. Just make them look however they need to be like, but no, that's not the point of it. The
Mhm.
point is actually to make them human.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And because like we have a human world where we interact with it, okay? But why does it matter? As long as the robot can pick up this cup and pour it in, why does it really matter whether it's doing it like a human would or not?
Because it's getting the data that it would be getting from a human, essentially.
They actually want to recreate the world in data for AI as humans would be experiencing it.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Why is that?
Um,
It's almost like they literally want to create the Matrix,
yeah,
or they want to be able to control things in a way where they can predict things at the human level.
that's what I'm seeing.
Like they can't predict your behavior. The AI can't perfectly predict your behavior if it doesn't understand the world through the way you interact with it.
yeah,
That is the real problem with. That's why you needed the self-driving cars to go drive around and interact with the road and get that information. You can't just think about it and program it in. The AI needs to think about the environment in the way you're actually interacting with it. And so
yeah,
I'm sharing all that from the perspective that if people don't realize like the purpose of all this, you know, is it to literally put people in pods in a virtual reality? I don't know. Like, I don't think that's necessarily useful, but definitely the point of like, you know, when you look at the Whitney Webb stuff and BlackRock, and they want to be able to have real time knowledge of the risk that they have in terms of
right.
investment and so forth. And like, and really, okay, and this is the perfect point because people believe in the whole like what makes the markets move. They believe in that whole invisible hand thing that we were
Oh,
taught.
right.
Like it's like as if any actual investor really fucking believes. That.
Which
But
like you
like
were
the average
taught
person,
that you were taught that in like what, fifth grade? Like this invisible hand. Like you're in elementary school and like you're taught this idea of the invisible. I remember
yeah,
having a
yeah,
teacher. I don't remember his name, but I remember the social studies teacher was this guy with a mustache, and he would tell us about this invisible hand and all this stuff, and I'm like I didn't have the understanding to actually process all of that information and what that actually meant. And then you just move on, and then you're talking about something else now, and
you
like,
have to be taught that when you're a kid. No wonder the system doesn't want you to question Santa Claus, whether you should
right,
teach your kids Santa Claus, because it's preparing you to like accept stupid, retarded shit that makes no sense. Like, why can't a child look at this and go like, well, what do you mean an invisible hand? Isn't it like actually just every decision we're making as human beings and like
well, that's
that's
the invisible hand.
affecting.
Aren't you getting that?
See, but that's not what they're saying. They
No.
like saying that there is some force that's somewhere there that kind of guides things somehow as if it's like God. Like what makes reality continue to go towards a point that we can actually hope is best? And it's like
Oh,
because there's a God that's ultimately got a plan, that's ultimately it's just like evolution.
yeah,
Same thing.
yeah,
Evolution, it's just this ephemeral nebulous principle that's guiding things to improve in a certain way, and it's just
yeah,
where we're at, and that's where it's going to be, and there's something you can really do about it.
yeah. It's
And
like
so
it's
yeah,
with the invisible hand thing. It's like they say it's like what the market wants. You know what the market wants, which is a bunch of decisions being made by people.
that's like saying what God wants. It's the
Right, but
same.
they make it seem though as if it's like, people just naturally like they start desiring things just all of a sudden, and then that's what moves the market. When the reality is like what we just saw this past week, it's one person, Warren Buffett,
One person can make waves.
with a whole bunch of fucking money, where he says literally, he's like, um, I've pulled out 50% of my shares from Apple. And people watch Warren Buffett and they see him and he has to disclose that. And when he says that, they're like, oh shit, I gotta pull out of Apple. If Warren Buffett's out of Apple, I got to pull out of Apple.
Like he didn't know that was going to be the like he didn't
Of
know
course he
exactly
knew
what
that.
people were going to do.
And he's literally said this many, many times over the years. Buy buy stock at a discount. When everybody else is taking their money out, guess what I'm doing? I'm putting my money in. I'm getting it at a discount. And so, okay, he just took out, I don't even know how much it was, like $300 million, basically, right? That he has cash on hand for when the market crashes the next couple days. He's like, I'm buying all this shit.
Because he
And then
knows it has to go back up. So now
right.
that 300 million becomes a billion or whatever.
And even if it only goes up very incrementally, like it
Yeah.
doesn't go all the way up to where it was.
Right.
He's still making money. He's like, I bought it at a discount.
My question is, why is he doing it?
He's old as fuck. It's not like he
He's
needs more
right. That's the
money.
thing. Is like he's so old.
Yeah.
At this point, people are like, "Oh, but he gave all his money to charity." It's like, really?
Are you that? You're not that. You're not that dumb.
They're that. They are that dumb, dude.
Yeah.
They are that dumb. Okay, let me make my Elon Musk point. I want to get to some of this
Yeah.
other stuff, but like, oh wait, we already did. Never mind. I forgot we did it. There's so much more, man. People got to read Hyperion too.
Dude. Yeah. Okay. I got past the dog part. I'm now we're looking at like PAX visiting some ousters, and
Does the
that's where I'm
word
at.
courier class ship mean anything?
No, 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 I'm not there yet. I'm not
Okay.
there yet. No.
Dude,
No.
it's just so crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's our little inside. I'm gonna show you something real quick. This is
Okay.
what I was working on earlier. So there are some benefits to AI. Like you can literally make this in like 20 seconds.
That's hilarious. Yes.
All right. So okay, so let me just think where I want to go with this because Kitty sent me a bunch of stuff now. I was like, send me some of these things, right?
Yeah.
How do I want to get there? It's like
So we can go back into you were talking about like Islam with the Miriam thing and
I guess I never finished that.
the other point.
I'll wrap that up and then we can maybe get into something because I just want to show like it's not about. Well, I don't know why I have to say that. My point is, it's not about like, oh, actually, that's why because it's not about this particular religion is stupid.
Wow.
It's like the whole concept itself.
Yeah.
Even atheism, evolution, science, like literally every fucking belief system is keeping us trapped in a mode where we believe there is an invisible hand, whether it's the markets, reality, etc. That the reality is that there are people who know you believe that, know that is not like, imagine you're Warren Buffett and you do this, you make money. You do this, you lose money.
Yeah.
You can see how people think, you test it out, you make money, you lose money. Do you think he believes in the invisible hand?
No. He's
like when you're at that level, you see what you do and what you're doing and the effect, you know there isn't one.
He's like, I am the invisible hand. It's me.
It's like the Pope.
Yeah.
When you go to the mass, you're like, oh my God, I feel the presence of God. Like I feel it, right? But the Pope knows we built a church, what do they call it? Like a cathedral.
Mm-hmm.
It's designed with certain elements to create a certain feeling within you based on the size of it and da da da. And we use certain colors and we do certain incense and we have certain songs that play. Like it's like a production company putting on a concert. They know everything they're putting into it and the effect it has on everybody. Like they know they're creating that effect. It's like when you make a television show.
Yeah.
You don't just do it and then go like, oh, wow, it's crazy. People are laughing at this. It's like, no, you wrote a joke so they'd laugh there.
Right.
Like, you know, the Pope knows what he's doing. So he knows it's not God, if that makes sense. Like he knows it's not the Holy Spirit making everyone feel a certain way. They believe that, but he knows, no, it's we did this and we did this and I did this and I said that and we did this thing. Like,
yeah,
at that level, you would have to know it's me doing it.
Yeah.
So my point just being like all the people at certain levels, I don't know at which level necessarily you realize these points necessarily, but they know. and they're doing it on purpose, and they're exploiting the fact that people still accept it. So going back to that Islam thing real quick, this guy was showing like in the Quran, because the whole idea again is that the Muslims, again, which level believes this, I don't know. So you're at a certain level, you're the Pope level where it's all you. But then the Muslims, so I mean, there must be some imams and shit that know, like, we're just doing this, right? But
Yeah.
the quote good Muslims believe that the Quran is the inspired word of God. No, it is the word of God. That's what they believe, and there's no
Yeah.
contradiction, and that's
Right.
how they know it's the right one versus all the others. It's so interesting because I've studied a lot of religions,
Uh-huh.
and just in terms of the ones I've studied, it's the only one that's really like, hey, let's address the fact that people believe or are questioning of like, hey, if there's all these different religions, how do you know this is the right one? Like, I don't really see anyone else really addressing that point.
Yeah, right.
It's like, it's just, you believe it. But with Islam, they're very specific. Like, look, I know people are going to say, how do you know this is the right one? Well, here's how we know.
Well, hang on, because that seems like an actual, like a logical thing, because they're like the latest one. They're the latest.
That may be why it's,
You know.
but the point is they do have an answer.
Yeah.
And they're very specific about it of like, no, the Quran is flawless. It's, and the fact that it is flawless is how you know it's from God.
Yeah.
And it is flawless because it's from God. Obviously. So the reason it's flawless is the sign that it's from God. Okay. And it is the flawlessness of it that obviously is that evidence. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense. It makes sense as an argument.
Yeah.
Even if it was flawless, that doesn't prove the assumption of what God is and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But that's their argument. Okay.
I like that one that you sent of the Indian guy, or I guess he's probably Pakistani, where he's like on the stage and the Hindu guy is asking him like, so I'm a Hindu. I'm from a religion that is much older than Islam, but how do I know which one is the right one? And that guy, I swear I've seen videos of that same guy from when he was younger. The one who answers the question, where he's like, verse da 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 da, verse da 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 da, and he's like quoting from the Bible, quoting from like the Bhagavad Gita, like all of it is like, yeah, this verse, that verse, this verse, it says this, it says this, it says this. Like, okay, so clearly this guy has like a photographic memory, and then he's just using that as a way to just like pull, okay, if I can just say all these things, I know more than you, you're gonna have to accept my answer, whatever I say, you know?
Yeah. So you see a lot of sales in the whole point, especially
yeah.
from the stage, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this guy was making a video about, in the Quran, it talks about Mary, the mother of Jesus. And there's a point where he specifically says, where it says something about her having a brother named Aaron.
Yeah.
Did you watch this one already?
I watched that one. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought
so. Then
I think it's
so
also in context with the muddy water one.
Okay.
Like, yeah.
So then later also it gives the name of like her father, Imran, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And he says, but the Christians don't believe she had a brother named Aaron, and they don't believe he had a father named Imran. So like, where are they getting that from?
Yeah.
But then he shows, like, if you go in the Bible and you look at Aaron, remember Aaron and Moses and all that stuff, right?
I know. As soon as Aaron was mentioned, I was like, that's Moses.
Oh yeah, that Aaron, right?
Yeah.
So then they're like, Aaron had a father whose name was, when you translate it into Muslim or whatever it is, Arabic, I guess it's Imran.
Yeah.
And he had a sister named Miriam, which is
really
Mary.
one letter difference. It's instead of in the Arabic, it's with an I, and
right.
The Jewish culture, it's like with an A. Yeah.
Right. So they're like, clearly whoever was writing the Quran was trying to reference things and got confused at some level, where they put Mary having, because it's the same name, Miriam, and they were like, oh yeah, Mary, she has the brother named Aaron and so forth. And it's like, no, that's a different one.
Yeah.
So he was trying to show, like, clearly they fucked up. It's like an obvious mistake.
Yeah.
But then there's even a hadith that addresses it, where someone brought it up to the prophet, and he goes, no, like they had this habit back then of giving each other, like referring to each other as other name. I don't know, like
Yeah.
old prophet names or something. It didn't even make sense.
No, I did.
The
When he said it,
answer.
I was like, why is that an answer? That doesn't make
But this
sense.
guy's point was that clearly they know that there's a problem with it,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
why they
Yeah.
had to address it in the
Right.
hadiths, right? Um, so there's these obvious points where it's like, oh, this thing isn't even flawless.
No.
Again, even if it was, that wouldn't prove anything, but it's not even flawless. And then the muddy water thing, right? You want to
Yeah.
explain that point, and I can get
Okay,
some.
yeah, because that one was really interesting to me because the guy was like, all right, so there's all these miracles in the Quran, right? Where it's like scientifically accurate is what they said,
Like
right?
they knew about scientific facts
Yeah,
that we only just now know about, or they definitely weren't known at the time, or they make
sure.
scientific claims.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And one of them was that the sun sets in a muddy water, right? And like he reads the passage and he's like, when you read this passage, what a Muslim would tell you is no, that word that says that the prophet found the sun setting in a muddy water uh, could be appeared, and that's how we read it. It's
It appeared to
appeared,
him. Yeah.
yeah, to be setting in a muddy water. And he's like, okay, except in the Quran, it says the Quran interprets the Quran, not man interprets the Quran, right? So basically, you got to read it as it is. And if we read it as it is, this word, which is used to say found, is 40 times in the Quran. Every single time it is found, except for in this one instance, you're saying it's appeared. And whenever the Quran wants to say appeared, they use a completely different word for appeared specifically.
So you, as a human translator,
Yeah.
or just person considering what definition to apply, would have to make the choice to use a different definition in this particular case
Yeah.
versus all the other times that you wouldn't do that.
Right.
So it's not a like the Quran in itself said, and no, the prophet said in this sentence, this word is defined as this. It's like you're making the choice of like, hey, this time I'm gonna make it appeared instead of found because
Yeah.
clearly he didn't find the sun setting in the muddy waters. We know that's stupid, right?
Right. And then he says he goes even further, like in the Hadith, it says that there's a bunch of early Muslims who are like trying to figure out like what did the Prophet say? Like, but he said they were trying to figure out where does the sun set? And that was the other piece that's important. He says during that time, it was really popular knowledge, I guess I'm putting knowledge in quotes, but like the assumption was that the sun sets in mud or muddy water because it's the Egyptian god Ra or whatever basically is carrying the sun with a chariot, and then he goes into the netherworld and then carries the sun through there, which is like a muddy water. And so that was like the popular understanding at that time was, oh yeah, okay, that's what happens to the sun. And so then the prophet
Okay.
said he went to the place where the sun sets and saw it going into the muddy water. And so then afterwards, they're saying, okay, so the hadith is like these early Muslims going, well, where does the sun set? Because they were reading the text, but it was a word that was unclear that could be muddy water or it could be hot spring. And so they were like, we don't know which one it is. So they asked this recent convert from Judaism into Islam, they ask him, what does it say in your Torah? Where does the sun set in your Torah? And he says, this is significant because they're not asking, what did the prophet mean by it sets in a muddy water or it sets in a hot spring? Like as if it's a metaphor. They're like, no, where does the sun set? Does it set in muddy water or does it set in
Right.
a hot spring? Which one is it? We don't know, you know? And like, because that was like, yeah, whatever we say, that's where it sets. It's not a metaphor. It's not an analogy. And so he's saying like, so okay, that's what they actually believed back then. So you can't come and say today that, oh no, it was just like, it was just using a metaphor, that it's kind of like setting in muddy water or whatever the case is, right? I see you're sending me a
Oh
bunch.
yeah, Katie. Well, because Katie sent them to me, but then I cannot get them to load on my
I got you. I got you.
like my browser will not load. I used tried a different browser and it will
Yeah.
not let me load Instagram. I don't know
Yeah.
why. Let me
Um,
just send you a bunch of them and then we can.
okay. Okay.
Um,
But anyway, so that said, then you take that into account with confusing Mary, the mother of Joseph, with Mary, the brother or the sister rather of Aaron and Moses. Like it's like, okay, so there are clearly mistakes here, right? And I like the way the guy described it because he's like, this is clearly from somebody who didn't really clearly understand those religions. Like he heard some stories from Christianity, from Islam or Judaism rather, and he's like, yeah. Okay, cool. So our God's the same God. We have the same kind of people and all that stuff. Yeah, Mary, the sister of Aaron, like who's mother of Jesus, like you got that story mixed up. It would be like,
They were trying to incorporate it in.
it's kind of like if you're reading a book and you get the characters mixed up. That's
You know,
literally what
it's
happened.
like when Ben Bova is like, I'm gonna make the next Foundation book, you know, but then
Yeah.
he wasn't Asimov, so he like kind of gets some details wrong. You're like, or it's like the Star Wars shit when they're like
Yeah.
adding new shit, and they're like, okay, remember recently with the
Right.
acolyte thing, and they're like,
Yeah.
wait, hold on a second. So they went and they got these two kids and they trained them in the Force, and they were able to create these children with high Force abilities, but the Jedi's were never able to. That contradicts blah blah blah. And you're like,
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
fuck, man. Like
yeah.
they're like clearly this person is not a real fan of Star Wars. They
This
did fuck
person
their
has
yeah.
never even seen a Star Wars movie. What the fuck? That's basically what happened. Yeah.
What it is it's, I mean, honestly, think about it. It's a bunch of women invading the Star Wars
Oh yeah.
because they're not fully like male autistic where it's like they know every fucking detail back, right, forward, everything.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, but you know, I feel like we need to have some more this in there.
Right.
So, but because they're only thinking about that, they're not like checking, like, okay, but if I want that, I gotta make sure it fits the details. They're like, what does that really matter? It's just like
Right.
arguing with a woman where you're like,
Right.
they're like switching it the whole time. You're like, no. Let's go back to what you actually said there because that disproves what you're saying right now. And they're like, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I feel this way. And you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
So it's literally
Yeah.
just like, it's
Yeah.
like guys having an argument with women over Star Wars.
Exactly. And that is what the Quran is.
Exactly. And that is the Quran. It is the Star Wars argument.
Exactly. No, it's funny that you bring that up, that like that autistic, like, okay, these details are important. Because I just I see so many people today that will make these arguments and like, okay, as an example, um, especially like Kamala Harris, Kamala,
Camelot.
Camelot Harris. There you go. Where she'll like take
How is
one thing and make it like really like, and this is an important issue and blah blah blah. But it's like, okay, but if that's so important, then what about all this other stuff that you're ignoring that leads to that? You
right?
know, and like,
It's just the feeling of this thing.
right. And there's so many people that do that and they make like such a big deal. And you're like, oh, why are you arguing this point? Like, this does not make any fucking sense. If you actually cared, you would be doing all this other stuff. Like, okay. Great example with what we're doing with Techno Tutor, with Destiny, with all of that. It's like we have haters. It's not a secret. Everybody knows that. Right? And they like want to complain about the way that something is like in the podcast, even like, how many people comment on I know you don't see the comments on the podcast. So many people comment on our podcast. A lot of them are like people who watch regularly and are like just enjoying it and having a great time. But sometimes people are just straight like ridiculousness, haters, just spewing hate. And it's like, okay, so you hate that the way that this was expressed or whatever, but like, what the fuck are you doing with your life? Like, are you even hearing what's being
Is
said?
it actually important to you?
No, they just want to
Right.
hate. And I was talking with a family member came over to visit yesterday, and she was asking us like, because she was telling us about her podcast or whatever, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. We have a podcast, and she's like, no, I didn't know that. She's like, tell me about it. And I was like, it's really controversial. She's
Well,
like, well,
first of
what's
all,
the
it's way better than yours.
I didn't say that.
It's the best podcast on the internet.
It is. But I was telling her like it's really controversial. And she's like, well, what's the most controversial thing? And I was like, I don't know. Like I was trying to think of like what's the most controversial thing that we talked about. I was like, COVID. We talked about COVID before.
First of all, the way I would have answered that, I'd be like, tell me something that's important to you. And then I would just shit on that and then be like, we say stuff like that.
That's the podcast. That's the
Make them
podcast.
feel really bad.
Yeah. But no, it was so funny because I was bringing up COVID and like how we had some of our podcasts taken down by YouTube because of COVID, like medical misinformation. Like we're not even saying anything that's like really crazy. Or we were just saying the things that we're allowed to say now that we weren't allowed to say then, which by the way, I appealed it recently. I tried to appeal it recently. And it's because I figured like the rules have changed. Like, come on. No, they're like still like, no, we're keeping this off. I'm like, what the fuck? I bet you if I uploaded it today, though, they would allow it. You know? But anyway, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. But the point being, so I was bringing this up, and she was like, "Oh, yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you." And I'm like, okay, so that's not controversial anymore. So now I'm like looking for things that are controversial. I'm like, we talk about trans stuff. She's like, yeah, and she agrees with me on that stuff. I'm like, fuck. Like I'm like looking for what is even controversial anymore.
And you're like, I would have been like, what do you know about World War II?
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. She would have been okay with it too. I know because she was just like I was like bringing up
Yeah,
politics.
people are starting to see the
I
fucking
know,
reality.
I know, and she would have been like, "Oh, that's interesting." I'm like, "Fuck!" So, like, nothing I say anymore is controversial. Like people are catching up, you know. I don't know why I was bringing all that up, but I guess
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
Okay, so where were we at though? We were talking about the Islam stuff. Maybe let's just switch gears for a second, play some of that stuff that Katie sent through. Because she was suggesting that we have some of these points of showing people like how ridiculous all this stuff is, because you can argue at a spiritual level. And I think, okay, here's part of it. People are like, well, I don't want to challenge other people's religion because that's what makes them a good person.
Is it?
People feel that way. They feel that because you're in a religion and you believe certain things, that's like a holy, untouchable thing. And I'm like, dude, it's fucking retarded. And I'm happy with saying how retarded atheists are, you know, and evolutionists. And
that was a perfect segue. Perfect segue for me. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. If I talk long enough, I get the.
Eventually, you'll say something that I can use.
Yes. Eventually, I give you enough. It's like data.
Yeah,
you have to tokenize it.
So I sent you this. I don't know if you watched it, but I sent you this because you said like even making fun of atheists. Check this out. This is Jordan Peterson.
Is an atheist. For Jordan Peterson, our ability to do just about anything requires a belief in some set of value judgments. So here's an important question. What is at the top of that value hierarchy?
The highest place is the divine place, and we could make that a matter of definition.
Wow. Peterson says that as a matter of definition, whatever happens to be at the highest place is the divine. So what is the nature of this thing at the top? Peterson's answer here is astonishing.
Well, what should be in the divine place? I would say we characterize that using fiction. And so we could say that in the highest sense, God is.
First of all, he's like, okay, so what's at the highest place? Let's use fiction. Let's just use fiction. Just something.
Well, he's saying yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Let's keep going.
The ultimate fictional character. And then we're trying to characterize his nature as that which should be emulated, that unites us psychologically and socially.
This is exact.
Yeah, that's all I want.
I was just okay. It's like when Bernard said that the creator has become something to be feared rather than emulated. So I like what Peterson said, but like, do we really need the fiction though?
That's what I'm saying.
Because the problem is, if you've been taught from a young age to believe in Santa Claus, you don't realize it's a fucking story.
You don't realize it's a fiction.
And also, I mean, look, I don't need to prove that. It's proven. Look at the fucking world. Like, people believe the fiction is true. It's like they actually think that the thing is real.
Right.
And if you're like, but it's good because of this and that, like, okay, but we still haven't solved any of the problems that apparently we should be able to solve by believing in this fiction.
But
So
what I wanted to show was that it's literally the same thing. There's the same belief. Like, okay, he calls himself he's an atheist, whatever. But it's literally still believing in the same kind of format of like there's some fictional character up there that we can
yeah,
give him
yeah.
characteristics of what we want to emulate. Like,
Why does there need to be a hierarchy of values?
that's what the fuck I'm saying. I'm like, it doesn't.
What's
make
more
sense,
important?
actually.
What's more important, like a child dying or an adult dying?
Right.
Like, well, clearly a child is on the scale of this, and it's like, okay, so murder an adult versus a child, which one's better? And it's like, well, neither one's better,
Right.
Because if you one's worse, is one better? So
Right.
would you be willing to admit it's better to murder an adult than a child? That doesn't make
Right.
sense. Like,
Yeah.
And what does it mean? Like the embodiment of these highest ideals, and it's like, why should there be a highest ideal?
Mhm.
What does that even mean? Isn't it just like common sense? Like people have basic needs. We have things that we want to do, like things that we like, things that we want to create. Where is the need for hierarchy in all of this shit?
Right.
And also, you look at Maslow or Maslov, however you fucking say it, and it's like he kind of does the same thing. It's like the highest is self-actualization.
Yeah.
But it's like thinking that you'll get to this point of self-actualization as a process after you take care of certain things.
Right. Yeah.
And the
Rather
people
than
who have those things get to be self-actualized.
Right.
Instead of realizing self-actualization is when self actually has everything it needs and everyone is yourself equally.
Right. Yeah.
What is you'll have a condition where it'll just be fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but no, they're like, no, you get this need and then you get that one. You kind of climb up this value hierarchy, and it's like, no, that's not that. That's so self-centered, actually.
Right. But also, if you knew yourself, you would do all those things as well. You know, and so it's like it feeds back into itself like a loop, right? It's like, okay, if you have all your needs met, you can be self-actualized because, and everyone has all their needs met because, like what else are you actually like? You're not competing in this system of just like, oh, I just got to survive. You're no longer participating in that.
How much would you want to bet if I said to Jordan Peterson, has there ever been a single fucking person who's been self-actualized? I bet, and like we were on a podcast. He'd probably say like, well, yeah, Jesus and Buddha and Muhammad probably is in there, and you know what I mean? And I'd be like, you fucking retard! Like, no, zero, none have ever actualized themselves. Like they might have gotten some points that are cool. They're trying to explain something, but it always is never really getting through.
Yeah, like self-actualization is looked at as like this, like, oh, you have special powers, like, oh,
or I've said something so profound no one can understand it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you're deciding to place the value on that as important.
Right.
Okay, so what do we want to look at?
No, I just wanted to share that because it's like that.
No, it's great. In terms of the atheism points, that's my point.
It's the same thing as like
it's exactly the same thing.
Religion, right? I don't know what this is. I'm excited.
You're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
Jew. I'm not allowed to touch my husband after giving birth, but that doesn't mean that we can't show love and affection in other ways. We partnered with Claire Jewelers, and Aaron picked out a very special push present for me. Physical touch is an important part of any relationship, but during this time apart, we work on strengthening other areas. Anytime I wear this bracelet, I will think of this special moment that we shared together, because love can be expressed so many different kinds of ways.
Every kiss begins with K.
First of all, I want to see what the comment for Johannes Sares is. For how long can you touch your husband and wife? Now, what are the replies?
Until she stops bleeding. Yeah.
Due to ritual impurity for when a woman discharges. That makes no sense. She can't touch him. They must place it down for other person to grab or pass on. And then discharged throughout the month. So how would that work? Yeah, you probably can't touch them then either. Remember the whole thing with Muhammad?
Yeah.
I don't know if I sent you that stuff where he talked about fondling the women when they're on their period. It's okay.
And it's because of this. He's like that. Well, this is a stupid rule. so, so I just fondle them when they're on their periods. Which is
Okay,
kind
and then can you collapse those comments? Because there was another comment that was right below this main one.
oh,
There's like hundreds on this one.
there you go. Before judging, listen.
Yeah, could it be ancient thing to protect the woman so she can heal down there? These rules been made at a time when women's consented sex could have been a secondary thought. Just wondering out loud. That's what I was thinking. I'm like, maybe it stems from like, yeah, they need to like recover and heal. And if the guy's like, no, I'm gonna fuck you like right now, like, and she's like, I can't physically handle it right now, like,
right.
you know. And then Katie also made the point of like, you know, after women give birth, like, and it's like they're going through like an emotional point, and they're kind of like, you know, this whole point. So it's like kind of looking at that, and I'm like, okay, fine. Why do you need to justify it with God then?
Yeah.
And then also, what does that have to do with buying your wife a gift? Like, I'm gonna give you a present, a bracelet, a diamond bracelet, because I can't touch you. Like, can it just be like, look, you don't need me to prove that I still feel a certain, like, what is that? How is it? You could just take it out. If the person stabilizes themselves and forgives their emotional points, why would that be necessary?
Right.
So it's this weird, and also it was a paid sponsorship with some fucking jeweler. Like,
obviously.
oh my God. Okay, next one.
hang on, because I got a few.
But again, let's say there was some common sense in why not to quote touch your wife. Maybe it just meant like don't try to have sex with her right after she gave birth. Maybe there's a healing period. Couldn't you just use common sense?
Yeah. No.
Is it like people haven't been having babies and having sex for so long we couldn't have already figured that out?
Yeah. I want to know what this is. I gotta see what this is.
Does she cover her hair with hair?
A lot of new faces here, so let's talk about why I cover my hair. As an Orthodox Jew, I cover my hair because I am married. If I never got married, I would never be required to cover my hair. Covering my hair is also a personal choice. Nobody is forcing me to do it. I cover my hair for spiritual reasons. It is believed that after marriage, a Jewish woman's hair becomes sacred. A holiness falls upon it, and it is something that I will only share with my husband. And so for that reason, I choose to cover it. There are also many different types of head coverings. There are hats, scarves, tichels, and yes, even wigs. Another question I often get asked is if wearing a wig is cheating.
That's what I wanted to know.
Oh yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Or a loophole. And the simple answer is no. Only the hair growing out of a woman's head is considered sacred, which is why Jewish women wear wigs. In addition, covering one's hair is not.
Wow. Okay.
I was gonna say maybe it makes sense, like you're married, so now you just make yourself look kind of ugly.
No, but she was just about to say it's not about looking ugly.
Oh really?
That's what she was literally just.
Oh, go do it. I didn't see that part. I didn't realize there was more to this madness.
In addition, covering one's hair is not supposed to decrease their beauty.
Well, it does, but okay.
I'm just saying that
it absolutely does. So yeah. You can say that all you want.
It's not using hair to hide your hair.
That's what I said. I was like, is she about to hide her hair with hair?
How can you show your hairline?
Did we finish this point? Okay.
It's not supposed to decrease their beauty. It should enhance it. So whatever way a woman chooses to cover.
It's supposed to enhance her beauty, actually.
That's like if you're like, I'm not allowed to like wear bikinis because it makes me too, but because I'm married. So you like cover your body with like a skin suit, but then it has like a bikini pattern on it, so you still look sexy. So it's like so okay, let's go back. So when you get married, now your hair becomes sacred.
Yeah.
Why?
See,
like that part doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, yeah. Okay, it's like, well, it just is because God said it's sacred. It's like, why? Yeah. Why is it your hair? Why isn't it your eyes or your nose or something? Like, why? It's your hair. Yeah. It's like clearly it has more to do with some ancient custom of like, I'm guessing it makes you look not attractive. But then they didn't want to admit that. It has to be it's about God said it. So you're not following it for the right reason. You're following it because God said to, not because it makes fucking sense, whether it does or doesn't.
Okay, so remember you'd sent, it's on the playlist for the self-perfected playlist, But that woman who's like, why I cover my hair now.
Okay,
when
do
I go
that
to
one.
church.
Will you do that one? I know it's a long video, but just like the first part of it.
Yeah. Hang on, let me find it real
That's
quick.
why I was sending it, because I'm like, there's so much of this, like,
Yeah.
and this is Christian.
Yeah. Oh, okay, playlist. There we go. What the heck? What the heck? Where are my playlists? Where do you find your playlists? What the hell? I have liked
can,
videos, watch later, history. Come on. Where am
I can send it to you.
Yeah. Because
I have it right here. I just happen to have it.
just send it to me because I can't see it at all there. Thanks. All right. So many videos.
Let me put it on like 1.25 or something.
Yeah. Not subtitles.
I always do that too.
Something that I've been kind of meaning to bring up for a few weeks now, and that is I
1.25.
started head covering for church services. I am going to be wearing a cloth covering every time I go to church services or have corporate worship. And I started doing this
Did she say
about 3 months
corporate
ago, and I
worship?
wanted to come on here and explain to you guys why I did this and why my convictions on head coverings changed. Now, if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I do want to go ahead and read the Bible verse that involves head covering. Although if you're Christians, then you already know the whole head covering debacle, and you'll know that it's a very controversial subject. And I do want to say right away, this is not something that I want to come across as judgmental. I'm not telling you guys what to do. I'm not telling
Then
you
why are you
I
to
was
talking
start
reading
about
head
it?
covering because
Yeah.
I started wearing a head covering. I just wanted to walk you guys through why my convictions changed, why my convictions are different
I
from
was
the way I grew up,
reading the
and different from my
comments.
family's, and why
And
they
someone was
changed,
like,
and my
go all the
journey
way.
that
Stop
brought me
wearing
to the
makeup.
place that now my husband and I both think that I should cover my head when I'm in church worshiping the Lord. So 1 Corinthians chapter 11, starting at verse 3, but I want you to understand that Christ is the head of every man, and the man is the head of a woman, and God is the head of Christ. Every man who has something on his head while praying or prophesying disgraces his head, but every woman who has her head uncovered while praying or prophesying disgraces her head, for she is one and the same as the woman whose head is shaved. For if a woman does not cover her head, let her also have her hair cut off. But if it is disgraceful for a woman to have her hair cut off or her head shaved, let her cover her head. For a man ought not to have his head covered, since he is the image and glory of God, but the woman is the glory of man. For the man does not originate from woman, but the woman from man. For indeed, man was not created for the woman's sake, but woman for the man's sake. Therefore, the woman ought to have a symbol of authority on her head because of the angel. However, in the Lord, neither is woman independent of man, nor is man independent of woman. For as the woman originates from the man, so also the man has his birth through the woman, and all things
No
originate
shit.
from God. Judge for yourselves. Is it proper for a woman to pray to God with her head uncovered? Does not even nature itself teach you that if a man has long hair, it is a dishonor to him, but if a woman has long hair, it is a glory to her? But her hair is given to her for a covering. But if one is inclined to be contentious, we have no other practice, nor have the churches of
Okay,
God.
I think
So
we've
this
seen enough.
passage
Okay.
She basically says, and I know she goes on to say this, but like to cover your hair is to be submissive to your man. So basically,
Oh,
she's
okay.
saying,
But only when
like,
you're praying.
only when you're praying or when you're in church
Or in
something
church, yeah.
like that. So it's basically she's saying, like, what it sounds like to me is like, hey, don't distract other men while you're in church, like, cause like
Or
some
it's
other-
like you're in church, you're married, and you're showing a symbol that I'm submitted to my husband.
right.
Or
But she does say it also
just
later on.
they should just put her on a leash. You ever seen these? Like, I've been in cities where it's like you see people walking people with like a chain or like a collar and stuff.
I've not seen that actually. And you know what's crazy is I live here in Orlando, which is one of the gayest cities. It literally, like, we have rainbow everything in the downtown area. We have that nightclub that got shot up because it was gay. But we also have like
I remember that.
20 other I don't know about 20, but we have a
Think
bunch of
about it. Even
nightclubs.
with gays, they still have
Yeah.
to have a submissive and a dominant.
Yeah. That's why they're gay.
That's why they wear the gimp suits. It's like a covering that shows their glory to the Lord. Just shows their glory hole to the Lord.
Let's
Okay,
keep
next
going.
one.
Let's keep going. Let's see what we got here. We watched this one. So let's watch this one. Oh, don't use condoms. Okay, here we go.
Is she gonna show us not using a condom?
What is she doing with that?
Is she gonna jerk him off with that?
What the?
This is very scandalous.
That's not how you use them?
What the fuck?
First of all, that would probably taste disgusting.
That would taste so disgusting. What the fuck?
Okay.
What the fuck? No, that is gross. That's gross.
Someone said, please don't make light of it. Teens not knowing how to use condoms is a problem. It's like, so we would think teens are going to watch this video and then think that you should cut a hole in the tip. Like, what teenager doesn't know how to fucking use a condom?
I mean, they can
Nobody
go
ever taught me
online.
how to use one. Like,
They can
Jesus.
find a bunch of videos, I'm sure.
Why do
Why I
I
wear
wear the temple
garments.
garment? Latter-day
Oh, boy.
Saints, both men and women, begin wearing the garments of the holy priesthood after
Oh, like the
participating
underwear.
in a pair of sacred rituals known as the initiatory and the endowment. These rituals involve making covenants or promises to God, commitments that shape our lives and guide our actions. Garments are more than just fabric, but they're not magic. The garment is a symbol of the sacred promises we make in the temple and our connection to and reliance on Jesus Christ. So why do I wear the temple garment? As a symbol of my faith and a constant reminder of my covenants with God. Why do I wear the
Okay, I guess.
Can I show you
Wears
something? Look,
long
you might
underwear.
have one too, right? I have a wedding ring,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I have
I
one.
don't wear it. I don't wear it for myself to remind myself of my commitment to my wife.
You don't?
No, because I don't need to be reminded of that. Like, I wear it so other people know that I'm married, one, but more importantly, it's like so they can, especially in the context of our group, it's like showing like, hey, I've done that. Does that make sense? Like, it's like I don't do it because I have to.
Uh-huh.
Because if I don't, somehow that's disrespecting my marriage. It's more like I know getting married and having kids is an important point of being a human being and changing the system and all the points we talk about. It's like an integral process of maturation.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of points you could go into.
Yeah.
And this is just it is a symbol. I realize it is a symbol. But it is showing other people like, hey, I'm doing that. Does that make sense what I'm saying? It's just for show.
Yeah.
Like, I know it's just for show. I don't think that somehow by wearing it, it helps me do something or keep my commitment or something like that.
Yeah.
So how does the underwear make sense? No one even knows you're wearing it.
It's just for show, Cameron.
It's like you're just doing it to prove to God, like God knows. And then do you need to wear them to keep the commitment? Like if I lost my wedding ring, obviously you could replace it, but it's like it's not gonna suddenly be like, oh no, you know, like
we're not married.
Like losing some money. It's like right. It's like
okay, all right, Cameron. I know why she wears the underwear because I watched this movie once. It was called Think Like a Man, Steve Harvey, right? And what they recommended in that movie for women going on first dates is to wear granny panties so that you feel like you don't want to have sex on the first date. That's how you keep yourself from having sex so that you can have a relationship with this guy. That's why she's doing it. Because in case she meets some guy, I know she's married, but just in case.
But hold on, but that is my point.
Yeah.
It's like you're trying to remind yourself, oh no, wait, I have a covenant with God. It's like so you don't just see the value of doing it for yourself as to why, you know. It's like trying to use these things to keep you locked in.
Yeah.
Rather than it just being an expression of something.
That's I mean, it makes sense.
I deliberately put my wedding ring on this morning.
Uh-huh. Because
I knew I was gonna do the podcast.
Okay.
And I'm like, it's there. So when people, it's like a point of just showing, hey, it's like representing something.
I don't take this off.
I take mine all the time. I don't like sleeping with it on.
Oh, that's weird. I just wear it all the time.
Right. Because if you don't wear it, then it's not real, right?
Because I'll forget. Actually, Christine doesn't wear her wedding ring because it doesn't fit her fingers anymore. After she got pregnant, she's like, this is gonna get stuck on here.
Right.
And then she never put it on after she had Hazel. So it's just like, oh, we'll buy a new one. Who cares?
Right. But it's like the point of thinking you need to do it, otherwise the commitment isn't valid.
Yeah.
It's like, so if you lose your wedding ring for a day, suddenly you're just gonna go fuck a bunch of prostitutes?
Listen,
Like what?
listen. You know what? Because what if some guy sees her out there and he's like, "Oh, you're not wearing a wedding ring." Meanwhile, she has a baby. Like-
He's looking at her. He's like, no wedding ring. Hair not covered.
I don't see any garment on. No
I
temple
don't,
garment.
see- I don't see temple garments.
Excuse
All right, next
me,
one.
you with the baby. Next one. I don't know. Okay, let's see. Hang on. This one? No, we just watched that one. This one.
Come with me to pick up my blonde wig. Hi, my name's Miriam. I'm an Orthodox Jew, and I share
it's
what
her
my
again?
life is like. And
It's
I
her
wear a
again.
wig because I am married. I ended up choosing wig number 3, the blonde wig with the layers, and Shawnee did add some
That's a
extra
wig?
highlights at the bottom. Now
Dude, it looks like I thought.
I just thought
Hold on. You know that the scene before, that was not her real hair either. That was a wig as well.
I really thought that was hers. I was confused. I'm like,
I know. It's like
they're getting good at this, man.
What's the You know what? I know why they do it. I know why they do the
Look. I'm not sure I understand. Please explain. You can't display your own hair out of respect for your marriage, but you can wear even more attractive hair that isn't noticeably a wig. So scroll down a little bit about Islam. It's covered to keep
Conceal the beauty.
people from raping people. Conceal the beauty and only leave it for your husband to see.
Yeah.
The wig is
So-
beautiful. I'm not. Isn't the purpose is the purpose not to conceal? Please explain.
Yeah. The whole point of covering your hair is to not look
He
attractive
explicitly
to
said,
others.
no, it's not about that.
Yeah. Okay. I don't get it. Okay. You know what's so funny? I know why they do it though. I know why they do it. It's because she's practicing her deceptive practices. That's it. She's practicing her deceptive practices, Cam. That's
The
it.
whole point of it is just to show that you are submitting to God's commandments.
No,
Whether they
no,
make
no, no,
sense
no,
or
no, no.
not.
That's not the point of it, Cam. That's not the point of it. The whole point of it is to practice your deceptive practices.
Oh, I think that's a
it.
specific thing for Jews. Like they specifically come up with rules and then they try to spend a lot of time figuring out how to get around them.
Dude.
No one else does that.
We watched that video the last week, right? Where the guy's like, and we just put this little plastic thing on the
As
telephone
long as we put
pole.
these plastic poles, we're technically a private property where we can literally do whatever we
It
want.
made no fucking sense. Did we actually? I don't think we shared that on the podcast.
Yeah, we did. We're
We
just
did?
joking
Okay,
around.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Now she's going to customize the
So do
wig
some
to
of
my
the
face
Muslim
and
ones, please.
hairline by
Yeah.
adding new baby hair.
I'm done with
Yeah.
this one. This is
You're,
just
you're
like
done with this, but look at how realistic they're making it. She's adding baby, like that's crazy.
it's like, how can I pretend to be holy? And like literally I'm just like displaying myself for everybody.
Yeah. All right.
Can we buy if not Jewish?
What is modest about this wig?
It's not about modesty, is it?
No. You have loopholes to conforming to your religion. Look at that. Wow, she looks better. I'm not even gonna lie. She looks-
Absolutely.
Wow. Crazy. Beautiful wig, but she'll have to put us on Kmart layaway plan. All right, okay, next. Oh, here we go. Erase all your sins with 3 words.
Oh, nice. Here we go.
Imagine every sin
Do this
you've
now.
ever done is erased because you said these 3 words and you shared them. According to this hadith, if you say La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, La hawla wa la quwwata illa.
Listen, I'm not the best counter, but I'm pretty sure that was more than
I'm not gonna be able to say that.
that.
These 3 words. 1, 2, 3.
Every sin you've ever done will be wiped away. So do this right now and share it with someone you love. Imagine
Okay, all right. Cam, can you say those 3 words?
I don't remember the first one.
You're fucked. You're fucked.
Okay, next.
At least 1,301 people died during Hajj heat wave. Oh wow. Dang. Oh, but they were unauthorized pilgrims, so that's their fault. That's
You
their
get
fault.
there's a lottery system because everybody wants to go.
Wow. So yeah, they were unauthorized. That's why they died. God killed them. Next.
I'll just real quick. I was watching a video of this girl talking about how when she was Muslim, I don't know if she still is, but I assume not. How like her parents and her family would go and do the Hajj thing, which is that pilgrimage. And like before they had ever gone, like there was the people who had been there were like warning the father, like, hey, make sure you keep your wife close to you. Make sure you keep your daughter close to you. Like when you get out of the car, make sure you get out first, or this or that, or all these different things. And the girl and the woman, she was a woman, but younger. She was saying like going there, I guess at a certain, I don't know what age. She was like, you know, it just didn't make sense to me because it's supposed to be like holy and it's a pilgrimage and all this stuff. She's like, but like everyone's really packed together when they're walking in that big circle or whatever. And she's like, guys are using it as an excuse to like grab your butt, fondle your tits, like all kinds of shit, you know, like. And she was like confused by it as a child
you,
or
God.
a young woman or whatever.
Thank you, God.
And it's just like, yeah, because it's all fucking bullshit, man. It's just it's like, but everyone will look the other way and pretend like that doesn't matter. You know that blogging theology guy?
Yeah.
Because I subscribe to him, so I get his posts, right?
Nice.
And he's like, he was talking about the UK riot, or no, he's talking about Texas banning Sharia law. He's like, what exactly are they banning? Like, you know, not lending money at interest, women covering their hair, like, you know, quote positive things or whatever. And I was just like,
what about
the
stoning
way
to death?
But the way he kind of presents always the point is only always the positive.
Right. Yeah.
And I was really looking at this point of like how you take your thing, you only show the positive. And like the Jews are really good at this, where they're like, everything we do is great and perfect.
Yeah.
And like anybody who says anything negative, you're totally like the most racist person ever in the world, and you hate us and you want to do a Holocaust on us.
Yeah.
If you
Clear.
criticize us at all. But it's the extreme example of only focus on the positivity. And the way generally people who believe in God, or Christians especially, do it is like, well, what about all the evil in the world? And they're like, well, that's just because of free will. Like God created everything, he created it perfect. But humans went and fucked it up. And I was looking at this point, that's why I was texting you like robot, iRobot, and all that stuff, right?
Uh-huh.
Because going back to that thing we were talking about with Elon Musk, with the creating the robots and all that, did you see that clip where he was talking about the hand?
Oh yeah. That was really
And how,
interesting.
and he was
Like,
saying like how if you even extend the length of your pinky, you don't have as much dexterity. That's why there's a certain like
Yeah.
length to each one relatively and so forth, right?
yeah.
And how much design went into, he didn't say it explicitly, but it's like, imagine, remember we were talking about with the Pope, right? He knows what he's doing. So he knows it's not God, right? Are you done?
When I do it with my hands.
All right. I know Christine was pulling your strings over here. But like the Pope knows what he's doing. He knows it's him creating the effects, not God doing it, right? Not the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
So like Elon Musk, like you're an engineer and you're designing this robot and you're like looking at the human hand because you have to replicate the human hand. You're not trying to just make a robot that works, you're trying to replicate this.
Mhm.
And then you start seeing the immense complexity just in the human hand. And he even said like they consider the hand all the way up to here.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
All of that is required, right?
Yeah.
You know, as an engineer, how much design and thought goes into it.
Right.
So you've got to know there's no fucking way this was created through some random process.
Yeah. He also talks about like how much like his mantra of like engineering or programming or whatever is we got to delete a bunch of stuff and we're going to put stuff back in that we had deleted before. But that's so that we're being efficient and we're not just like running things that shouldn't be run.
But then he's like showing like you can't delete any of this.
Right. Yeah.
It's all relevant. And what was my point with that? So you're designing a robot. You create this robot, okay? And let's say you're able to create this fucking amazing ass robot that could do anything, right? People are like, wow, you're fucking amazing as an engineer, creator, right? Designer. The robot kills somebody, okay? And they're like, hey, what the hell, dude? Your robot killed somebody. And you're like, no. Part of the reason what makes it so great is I gave it free will. So that part is on the robot. It chose to do that. No, dude, that guy's probably going to jail for liability. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
you can't. Nobody would accept that. But that's what we do with God. We're like, okay, so there's a creator, right? Yeah, obviously, and therefore, but he gave us free will, so all the negative stuff is all from humans.
Right.
Is that a really bad? Because you could even like, why didn't God just sit down and give us like perfect fucking understanding? Well, like when you're trying to teach a child and they just don't understand it right away and they have to go through this process and eventually they realize you're right and all this stuff. It's like, what I've realized with being a parent and using TechnoTutor is like my kids are way fucking smarter than when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And humans don't seem to be getting smarter as a general process of introducing religion.
Right. Yeah.
Have we seen it get better since ever? There's never been. In fact, the problem with the line of thinking is, well, then you got to accept Islam as the best one because it came last.
Right.
It's the next part. And that's kind of their argument.
That is their argument. They're like, my son wants to be a doctor. He asked me, Dad, why can I not just go to medical school? Why do I have to go to all these different schools?
Go to nursery.
You have to go to primary school. Then after primary school, you go to secondary school. And then you go to... I was like, this is how it works. So God gave us a Hindu. Then he gave us... and he was going through all the religions. It was for a certain people at a certain time. Now we are finally ready for Islam. No, now we are finally
Is it possible that this is just part of that? But no, in the book it says, this is the final one.
Yeah. In your book,
maybe you're just interpreting that.
He was like, in your book, it says the final prophet would be Muhammad. In your book, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude?
But, I was looking at the point too of like how it's like a whole switcheroo. It's like you got Jesus and then you got all these things. And then finally they're like, hey, so like Jesus came, he was trying to wake everybody up, but the elite used it to manipulate everybody into believing he was God.
Yeah.
So people would submit to the system and just be distracted by looking for God. But then later Islam comes along and goes, no, he wasn't actually God. So you get like that, but then also there still is a God. He was just talking about there's one God. So it just puts you right back into the same pattern anyways.
Right.
But then every time there's a new religion introduced, it's just for that time period. So that's why there's those contradictions like about Mary, because they didn't expect that people were going to get
They didn't expect that people were going to get what, Cameron? What?
I'm back. Maybe the system knew you're going to follow this religion for a bit.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, you're going to see that there's, even contradictions there.
Yeah.
And that's going to really fuck with you more. And it's like, it's going to create conflict and but the system's like, yeah, exactly. We don't care which God you believe in as long as you believe in a God. It's not about the God. It's just like, you're never going to fucking stand up and take full responsibility for everything because you're believing that there's a God going to do it.
Rebecca says, I wonder if the problem ever comes up where the man can't fuck the woman unless she has her wig on. Yeah.
Oh, like as in a sexual,
some rule in the Jewish tradition or whatever. Like,
I thought she meant like they can't get off unless they're wearing the wig. That's what I thought she was implying. Like a problem comes up.
Maybe.
That's
hilarious. That's a good one.
What else?
Right. Let's see what else we got here. We watched this one. Here we go. Future wife, I'm going to get engaged soon.
Can I talk with my future wife? I'm going to get engaged soon. In النظرة الشرعية, yes, you can. You can sit and her mahrams are there and you can sit with her and talk to her. As for alone, just the two of you, get married first and then talk to her as much as you want. Can I talk with my...
Wait, what? Oh, I guess You're not allowed
Like
to
in your
talk to
mind?
women? Talk alone? No. Marry your cousin?
But did he mean like literally in your mind?
No, he was saying like you could talk with somebody else there, but not like one-on-one.
Oh, I I
Can I
assumed he
marry
was
your
like saying you can
sister?
like talk to her in your mind or something.
No. Can I marry
Like
your
my future
sister?
wife, like your future pacing or something.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Okay, next. Can I poop on Mondays? You see that? It said, "Can I poop on?"
I did not see that. That's hilarious.
It did.
Marry my cousin in Islam? Yes. I marry my
What the fuck?
Is it Haram to edge to skibbity toilet?
Yeah.
Eating bacon? No. Marrying your cousin? Yes.
cousin in Islam? Yes. I marry my cousin in Islam? Yes. I
Wait, it just keeps
It was
going
just that
on.
over and over.
Yes.
All right.
Dude, I
What
don't
if
know why he
she's
keeps
7?
making videos.
What if she's
Everybody's-
7? Yes.
Can I marry her? Okay, so do they have like some sort of objection handle for when people bring up this thing about their
Well,
prophet?
okay. I was watching that one, left Islam or whatever, and he was making this point about because he was reviewing like a video. There was these two guys watching a imam guy talk or whatever. And I think it was that one I sent you. Maybe we should just play that one. It was like a little cartoon.
I don't see that you sent it.
Hold on. No, I'm pretty sure I did. Let me go check.
A cartoon. Oh, no.
It was like about Islam.
No. A cartoon about Islam? I don't watch cartoons.
Oh, maybe I didn't send. Man, there's so many. I guess I didn't.
No. I'm looking. You did not send it. You know what you did send though? I'll play this.
Breakdancing.
Yeah. How'd you know? How'd you know I was gonna say that? Check it out. Check it out, everybody. If you did not watch the Olympics,
Kind of just trying to like, how do I explain it? It's like they actually have technique.
uh-huh.
Like if I tried to do that, it wouldn't even look like that.
Sure, yeah.
And I probably
Yeah,
couldn't
yeah.
even do it. So it's like
Yeah.
someone who kind of knows what they're doing, but is deliberately trying to go back and simplify it and
Uh-huh.
make it like, instead of it being about like the flashiness, it's like almost like it's like a meta sort of commentary on breakdancing. You see what I'm trying to say? Like they're
Yeah, yeah,
deliberately like they clearly know how to dance. It's not
Sure.
not like they're just like actually a terrible dancer
Yeah.
and they suck. It's like if you looked at different art forms and you had somebody who actually knew how to paint, but they deliberately made their paintings look childish. So
Kinda
on
like
the
a
surface, you'd
Picasso
be
type of
like,
thing.
not even Picasso. There's like famous artists where they're like, in their time, people were like, dude, what is this shit? But now they're like $1 million paintings because like, oh, like no one got it, right?
Hmm.
I'm not trying to claim this woman's the greatest breakdancer ever all time. But if you take it out of the context of like the Olympics, it like that format made it look even worse.
Uh-huh.
But it was like I read articles from that person. She's like 36 or something, and she's like, I can't compete with these people in the same way, so I'm gonna like try to be like creative. And she's like older, so she's like doing like a different thing.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about breakdancing, but it was just more the point of realizing how quick everybody went to judgment of like, oh, can you believe these woke Olympics again? Diversity bullshit. And it's like, no, if you actually look, this person is a real dancer who like is kind of doing a certain thing, which
Yeah.
you may not like it or whatever. I don't care. But
Yeah.
it was kind of like with the trans boxing thing.
Yeah.
It was like everybody immediately jumped on it of like, oh, it's like they wanted to be outraged about it.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like, can you believe again this So anyway, that's why I sent it, because I just thought it was interesting. Because when I first saw it, I was like, what is this retarded fucking? But
Yeah.
anytime I have a thought like that, I always go, wait, is there more to the story? You see what I mean? So that's why I went and I kind of started looking into it, and I was like, oh, there's actually more to this point than what you're just seeing right there.
So when I saw it, I was like, I don't know if this is good or not. Because
Well, that's
I've
why I
actually-
really looked at it carefully, and I was like, oh, if you keep watching it over and over, you like, no, they're very specific about what they're doing. They're doing it deliberately. You see what I'm
I-
saying?
I
I'm not
get
saying it's
that.
good. It's not necessarily good by the standards of which they're
Right.
judging the breakdancing,
Right.
but
Not something
they
I would want to
are.
watch. You know, like
I don't want
I've
to watch breakdancing anyways, but if you watch the gold medalists in the women's group, like they were like, you'd be like, oh goddamn, like they're way fucking beyond that, right? So they, but then yeah, anyway, so there's just more to that whole.
I watched. I told you, I watched breakdancing here in Orlando. Like they had the world championship breakdancing, and they had it here in Orlando, and everyone, there was a crowd favorite that everyone was like, dude, that guy won. Like it was amazing what he was doing, and he did not win. Like the judges picked this other guy, and everyone was like, boo. like what the fuck was that about? Like everybody agreed this guy should have won, right? And it was, Sway, right? From Sway in the Morning. Sway in the morning. How, Sway? You don't know Sway.
How would I know
45?
any of that? I don't even listen to the radio.
Sway. He's like, bro.
Sway is like a type of fish that we have here. So like whenever you try to get catfish, people are like, is that actually just sway?
How do you not know Sway, Cameron?
Because I just don't know it.
Have you ever? You never
Look,
saw
I'm too
that
busy.
movie?
I'm too busy reading the hadiths.
You never saw that movie Shark Tales?
I don't know.
No,
Is that it's like Veggie Tales?
dude. Look, Sway. You know what I'm saying? Kanye went on to his show, and he was like, "Why don't you just do this?" And he was like, "How, Sway? How?" Like, no.
No.
Never mind. Jeez. Anyway, he was the one who was hosting it, right?
Okay.
And or the MC for it rather. And he was just like, "Listen, this guy won because it's not about the flashiness, it's about the technique." And he had the better technique. And you guys are being a bad audience here in Orlando. We're not going to bring this back to Orlando. And I was like, "Whoa, nobody gives a fuck about that." Like, he shouldn't have won in the first place.
Right. Well, it's like, okay, for example, if I played some modern dance thing, you'd be like, what the fuck is that? Like,
Yeah.
this person looks like a retard flailing around on the floor and everything, but you don't realize like they studied for like 20 years to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Or it's like when you go to like the art museum and you look at these modern art paintings and so forth, and you're like, my kid could do that. And then you're actually like, know how it works. And you're like, actually, they couldn't.
Right.
You might still think it's bullshit, like you don't like it and you don't think it's beautiful or represents anything, but you're like, actually, there's a lot of technique in it. You couldn't actually do it.
It's like when you go to the art festival and they've duct taped a rotting banana to the wall.
But that's also a good example.
Why?
Because when you look at the story of what that guy was doing and why he did it, there's a whole story behind it. It wasn't about pretending that it was a good piece of art. It was about the idea of being able to license exhibits and like a concept. You can look into the whole story. I'm not saying that makes it good art. I'm just saying there's a context behind it.
Okay.
Right. It had to do, it was been a long time since I read about it, but it had to do with the point of like, oh man, I wish I could remember what it was. Hold on, let me look it up.
I don't know.
Explain the
While you're looking
banana
that up.
on the wall. Hold on.
Okay.
It's a commentary on the commodification of art. Art is seen as that's not really what the point was. The Art Basel banana explained. Okay, here. Let's go look at it. Art Basel.
Right.
I was just harvesting some basil this morning. Oh, really?
Oh, get digital access. Get that digital access. Come on.
Is that it? It's not going to let me read it.
If you put it in reader mode.
Okay. Here it is. Here it is. Where'd it go? Hold on. I just saw this like an explanation. Banana's disposable, but has a. Let me find that. Okay. We'll just show this one point. So banana on the wall, $120,000, right? But like what this is, the fine art world is obsessed with constantly discussing the nature of art. Like what is art? What isn't? The banana is disposable, but as a certificate of authenticity, meaning you're allowed to display it as the artwork. it's satirizing the concept of authentic art having value, even if an equivalent object could be valueless. So in other words, because the guy copyrighted, however, I don't know what the exact process is, you certify like this art is my art or whatever. So if you want to display that artwork at your museum and you want to tape a banana on the wall, you have to pay $120,000 for the certificate. I mean, you could just go tape it on the wall, but you can't claim it's that artwork. Do you see the point? So the guy's like, I'm certifying this is my artwork. If you want to display my art and tape the banana called banana on the wall or whatever, all you have to do is grab a banana from the store and some duct tape from the store, but you pay me 120,000. Now you can say this is such and such art on, banana on the wall by so-and-so. But if you don't do that and you claim that, obviously you're stealing his art.
That's basically like an NFT. That's the whole like value.
But the point isn't. His point isn't that it is good art. He was trying to make a point about.
I get it.
What is art and how we're defining it certain ways and so forth. And then he really looks at the whole idea of art in itself.
It's a social commentary on NFTs.
Oh, sure, yeah. It's a very similar point, right? It's like you're just paying 100,000 because that was
like this is the original. Literally, you can just
copy and
paste it from online. Like you have that thing.
But you couldn't say it was that one. You couldn't say it was from that artist.
I get it. I know, but like who gives a fuck about that?
No, but that is the point. Is like that is what is valued.
Yeah.
It's something that actually has no value. It has the least value itself. Like, because in this context, it wasn't even like what I was talking about with the modern art. You might not like the way it looks, but you can't have to admit, if you understood the technique that went into it, there's actually a lot of technique there. Just like with that dancer, right? It may not be the thing that's really attractive, but if you were to look at that person, you'd be like, oh, actually they practice a lot and they're developing a certain style that it to me, the way I was thinking about it is like, it's like a millennial trying to do like their version of breakdancing because they can't compete with the young kids. There's no way you're going to keep up with all these fucking people like doing all this crazy shit. And so you're like, I'm going to kind of basically make my own version that's like almost like it's still technically accurate, but it's like making fun of it. Because even if you look at what she wore in the Olympics, she wasn't wearing like the baggy things with the cool she was deliberately wearing an Australian PE teacher's uniform.
That's a PE teacher's uniform?
That's what if you go to Australia, that's what they would be like, oh, she's dressed like a PE teacher.
That's fucking
so hilarious. Do you see what I'm saying? There was like it was like almost like, look, I can't fucking compete against all these people, but I'm gonna do this instead. And it's almost in a way, but think about it. Did you know about any of the other dancers?
Nope. She's right.
But we know about that one. So it's like kind of crazy, actually.
Yeah.
The Olympics are a whole fucking ritual too in themselves.
No, we've said that many times. Many times.
Oh no, also it's a satanic ritual.
Speaking of none of that, check this out. You sent this. This is apparently
making the rounds.
Supposedly.
No, yeah,
this is AI.
I saw the process. They created an image and then they put that image into another one to animate it. So the image is AI and then the video is using the AI image to make this.
That is insane. And I saw the comments. The comments were all like, she's gorgeous. Like, how do I get her? If this is AI.
I'm just looking real quick. I don't know if it's AI or not. I'm just trying to figure out, is that a wig or not? Because if not, hey guys.
She's not married.
I'm taking the ring off. Because I found my future AI wife. Can I talk to my future AI wife? Yes, but there has to be another chatbot present.
There you go. There you go. I don't have the comments on here, but yeah, craziness. That is insane. That is insane.
Yeah, it's starting to get pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, let me go back to our little list here. I feel like we're just doing like a neurodivergent. What's the word? Not neurodivergent. Divergent thinking.
Neurodivergent? Are you autistic?
No, like when you're just like going from one thing to one thing and
I don't know. This it's not linear. We're not linear, okay?
We're non-linear thinkers.
Non-linear thinkers. There you go. There you go. Okay, so the other points from this past week, Bassem Youssef had some really good bangers about APAC and all of that whole thing, which I think is good to put. R.I.P.
I didn't
Theo.
watch that.
What? No, you sent it. What the fuck are you talking
know.
about?
I just sent it because I was trying to show you that what's his name? Theo Vaughn was having him on. So that was the whole point of that. I'm sure you got some cool points. Like I've listened to that before, but it was just to show you, like, hey, look, now even Theo Vaughn, I was like, rest in peace, Theo Vaughn, right? Because it's like, how long is that going to last now?
You know, I watch the things that you send me because I think you want me to watch them.
Well, usually I do watch them for a minute or two.
For a minute or two.
It just depends.
Anyway,
can you play that one right below that?
Yeah.
I love this one.
Okay, hang on. This is good. Do. Here we go.
We're operating this armored vehicle so that you could take your dog on a peaceful walk at the park.
Jews, Muslims, Christians, and people of all other religions. We're making sure our streets are safe so that you can be free to practice your religion without fear.
Parents, we're operating this aerial defense system so that you can send your children to school safely.
Hey kids, we're flying this UAV so you can fly your kites without a worry.
Surfers, we are here operating on this Shaldag PTO to keep the Israeli shoreline safe.
And for the people that prefer to stay in rather than going out, we are protecting Israel from cyber threats, so you can peacefully watch TV from your home. So that when they try to destroy us,
So when terrorists fire rockets at civilians,
So when Hezbollah launches missiles towards Israel.
So that when terrorists attack.
So when Hamas tries to infiltrate our shores.
we are here to defend.
dog.
This cracks me up. Hold on, just seeing this guy with his face
Hey, kids.
blurred out. Hey kids.
Like you can see what's on the screen. It is weird though. Why are they?
Why even have him on there?
Why not just do a fake one? Why not just do a fake one? They love faking stuff. I don't understand why they couldn't just fake a UAV pilot.
You know what that reminded me of, though? It reminded me when I was a kid watching television, like, and they would have the U.S. Army commercials that were really similar.
Oh yeah.
You know, I like how they're like Jews, Muslims, Christians. Like,
I think he said Christines. I'm pretty sure he said Christines. Christines.
Christine, that guy's trying to protect you.
You can worship your sea gods from the comfort of your Netflix. I love that part at the end though. Like, and for those of you who don't want to go out because you see the obvious fact that you're probably going to get blown up if you do, you could just stay inside and we'll protect you from cyber threats so you can watch your Netflix in peace. Like, what?
Yeah, none of it made sense.
This is why this is like, okay, there's this point I was talking with Kate this morning. Everyone is pretending like they believe. Okay, everyone's claiming they believe in God, but they don't fucking act like as if they actually did believe it and it actually is real. They're not acting like it's real.
Yeah, that's a really great point.
Although now that I just said that, you know what I just realized?
What?
They actually do. You just have to follow the fucking rituals. So that's the problem with all this shit. Is like, okay, there's problems in the world. Yes. How do we solve it? We got to accept God because we're going against God and that's what's causing problems. Okay, so what do? Follow these rituals.
You know what? Actually,
that's going to solve the problem?
Actually, really great point. What Elon Musk was talking with Lex Friedman about, where he says that we're basically our memories. When you die, what's dying is all the memories. And so if we can keep the memories alive without any disconnect or any loss, then we've kept you alive, essentially.
Yes.
And this is the point actually with God. It's all those rituals are memories. And so what, like, okay, because I was seeing one of those things of like some Muslim woman, or maybe it was a comment that somebody had made on our video just now, that it's haram to wear makeup, but Muslim women do it anyway, right? It's like and just looking at these points is like, okay, so you have all these rules that you're supposed to follow, and like if you're actually serious about your religion, you would not,
because they're
be-
saying in there that they have covering your hair is supposed to be about modesty. And I know,
Right.
dude, I knew a Muslim woman who was, let's just say her husband was very high up in the Qatari government. And she flat out said to me, like, it's about being modest. Because I was
Right.
asking her about it, right? And
Right.
she said it like, because she was like, she didn't have to wear it apparently, because like in their thing, you don't have to, according to like maybe their government. I don't know. I don't remember, but she said she chooses to anyways. And I was like, why? And she's like, because it's a point of modesty. And I was like, okay. But I'm
Well,
like
she-
sitting there, I'm like, tell me again about how you imported all this Italian marble. Like they literally import, like their whole fucking their house was a palace. A palace. And like it was like all Italian marble, like the staircase, every fuck. I was like, holy shit. And they're
so
like,
she would
it's about
wear it
modesty.
in her home. She was wearing
All the
it?
time, yeah, all the time.
But probably if you weren't there. she
Oh, I
would-
don't know if she would wear it when I'm not there, but yeah,
okay.
when I was visiting anywhere
Okay,
out
okay.
in you. But it's about modesty. But then, anyways, I was interrupting your point, but the point is like they'll have like a Fendi bag and like
Yeah.
you know like not Ray-Bans, like some fucking $1,000 glasses and this and
Yeah.
that and like, but then they have the hijab out of modesty.
Yeah.
What is the definition of modesty in this case then? What do they mean by it?
Well, just sexual modesty.
Like I'm just not. But then like yeah, then the makeup doesn't make sense.
Right. Like so it's interesting because okay, if you actually were to study your religion and take it very fucking seriously, you would not fit into the culture, which everybody knows that. And so and you would also not tolerate any other religion. You wouldn't. They would be like, no, you're wrong. You believe in this, you're wrong because there's only one true God and it's this, and we follow these strict guidelines and everything, and here's why you're wrong. And like there would be a lot of conflict if everyone actually, and there already is a lot of conflict, but I'm just saying there would be very visible like confrontations between people all the time.
And you can't have that. But yeah, go ahead.
Right. And so people just like, okay, so because of the way I'm raised, they have all these ideas about their religion where it's like, well, we get along with these people. We don't, well, they're wrong, but you know, God says just love them anyway. And you know, we're still nice to those people or whatever. And so they are still in their minds believing in their God, but it's just playing out in them doing all their rituals, having all their memories. And so and really their God is their memories. That's it. That's what their God is. It's memories. And they get to continue playing out those memories over and over and over again. So when you challenge them on their religion, they feel you're challenging them on their memories that they've
You're challenging their existence, their immortality, because like you're
Yes.
saying, Elon Musk is pointing out that the belief is that you are your memories. Therefore, your immortality is if we can keep the memories alive.
Yeah.
And so when people are believing in God and doing all the rituals to reinforce that, they're actually just, why are they doing it? Because out of fear of dying, out of fear of not existing, they want to be immortal.
Yeah.
So that's almost texting me. It's just a glare. They want to be immortal. So when you're challenging the idea of God, you're challenging their immortality.
Yeah.
Or their belief in it, their feeling of security that
So that
real.
goes really nicely with the character of the world, right? What Bernard talks about there, and the character of the world, or changing the character of the world, where basically we create these opinions that are basically built by these characters that we create within ourselves, right? And so because of these characters, these opinions that we have, then that influences how we operate in the world, etc. But we get to a point where we are basically just doing things out of getting energy to continue perpetuating these characters in our mind that we believe ourselves to be. And because we think that we can continue, if we continue getting energy, we can continue keeping these characters going forever, which obviously that can't last. That has to stop. When we die, it stops. And he says this really clear point. If you could step beyond death for just a moment, if you could step beyond death for just a moment, you would see that all those characters that you're participating as don't exist beyond death. They can't exist beyond death. And I was looking at that point of just like, it's like if you were to watch a play or you're in a play, let's say, and you're playing Romeo from Romeo and Juliet. And then it's like Romeo is thinking, after this play, what do I go do? But Romeo doesn't exist after the play, right? You know, and so it's like,
imagine the actor playing Romeo going like, fuck, when this play ends, I don't exist anymore.
Right.
The only way they could fear that is if they believe I'm the character, because that's the only thing that ends when the play ends. And if they're like, well, there must be some play after the play.
Yeah.
Where Romeo is doing other things and they're not looking at the actual. I just want to make this quick. I want to make this quick point too about, because you brought up Bernard, and it's like, if you look at the difference between, because I'm trying to handle this point, look at people's objections, right? Islam is very good at that, of like handling objections.
Yeah.
Within their framework, they're very good at it. It's like someone, you could say like, well, but you're just saying Bernard said your characters don't exist after you die, or memories don't exist, so you're just believing Bernard. And I'm like,
no, it just makes sense.
I don't go, well, Bernard is perfect, therefore what he says is perfect. Now let me take what he says and believe it and rationalize it. It's like, I don't care if Bernard is perfect, not perfect. That's irrelevant. I don't care if he's from God, a messenger of God, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Which no one's even saying that either.
No one's saying that. I'm just saying, like, I don't care about that. He makes this point so you can see things differently. And then you're like, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's like, how do I explain it? It's like, I'm trying to think of an analogy to explain it. It's like if you're talking to somebody and then they're like,
no, it's like if you're talking to a professor, right? Like you're talking to a math professor and you're like, and they tell you some like math equation that you don't quite understand, or maybe you do understand, but they tell you a math equation, you're like, oh, and then you go and you study and you're like, oh, I see that. I can, in fact,
what if it wasn't even a math professor? What if it was just one of your peers?
Sure.
And they're like, hey, you know, that problem we're working on, if you think about it, this is the way it works or whatever. And then you're like, yeah, dude, okay, now it makes sense. Yeah, I see what and then you start realizing for yourself, like, how to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Because, and so you're not like, well, I know it's true because so-and-so told me.
Right.
That's not what makes it true or not true. And that's what the Muslims and everybody else is doing. But the Muslims are like a really good example of it. It's true because the Prophet said it. But then the problem is you have to now start justifying the contradictions.
Right. So, okay.
But you could easily be like, well, this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I've just been looking at the point of like destiny is math. Like no one else can tell you it's true. Like,
and it doesn't mean, like, even when you say that, it doesn't mean somebody believe it because Drake said it's math, so it's proven. You can't.
No,
that's you're just pointing
exactly
out
the opposite of what
point
I'm saying.
that it makes sense to you.
What I'm saying is, no, it's math, as in like you can, like I can do math, and so because I can do math, you don't have to tell me the answer to this problem. I can look at the equation.
I see what you're saying.
And go, oh, let me just do that.
You're not saying it's math means it's true, so accept. Well, I know you're not saying this, but I'm just clarifying for everybody.
I thought
you're saying.
I thought you thought what I was saying.
You thought
math, like mathematical, like it's radical, like it's mathematical, dude. Destiny is math.
That should be like a new thing.
It's not a new thing. I stole that from Adventure Time.
I was gonna say probably Adventure. Sounds like Adventure Time, right?
Yeah. But no, what I'm saying is
you're just saying like
as in like, okay, if you know how to do math, as in
it doesn't matter what the authority said.
No,
you can work it out.
Exactly. You don't need somebody else to tell you here's the answer, and that doesn't work anyway in math anyway, because you're like, okay, you memorize the answer to this equation. Okay, now let's change the numbers around. Can you do the equation? Can you do it? Like, do you know how to work it out? Like, you need to have your own understanding. Not your own understanding.
So why do you need another person though? Because in the context of math, someone who's already been there, of course, you shouldn't just trust them because they've been there. The point is, if they legitimately have been there, they can help guide you when you're making a mistake and point it out.
Right. Yeah.
So the context, if you want to look at Bernard, is like giving a bunch of context so we don't have to spend forever trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you need to blindly accept something.
Right.
You don't need to go, well, because he figured it out, therefore it's true. It's just if you're accepting it because you're putting let's say Bernard or anybody as some authority, and therefore that's why you accept it, it's not going to work, because the point is not about accepting knowledge and information. It's about fixing a problem.
Okay, look at Einstein's
So like, hold on.
famous
So
equation, E equals mc squared, right?
Okay.
It's like, okay, if you don't know,
Everyone knows that.
means,
Everyone knows it,
everybody
right?
knows that. Everyone just accepts it because Einstein said it. Okay, but if you don't know what that means, you can't apply it. It means
That's the
nothing to
point.
you.
Right.
That's it.
So the cool thing, the thing that they do in Islam is they don't just tell you how to be good, they tell you how.
Mhm.
But some of the applications make sense in the certain logic. Like, for example, cover the women's hair so guys don't want to like rape her or something. Okay. If you got a bunch of low IQ people and they can't control their impulses, it makes sense to implement that in that context as a point of control.
Yeah.
Okay. But then the question is, why can't people just not do it?
Yeah.
So you're still accepting the fact that you can't educate people effectively to not do those things. So you have to control the point. But in the context of you can't, it is a common sense point from that perspective, right? In the current context. But then why do you need God to be the source of it?
Yeah.
Because if you look at it, the point of it is you follow it because it shows your allegiance to God, which means you get an afterlife. You're not, oh, I'm not going to rape people because it's not best to do.
Right. Yeah.
Whether there's an afterlife or not. In fact, if you go listen to these guys, like that guy you were talking about, the Indian thing, all that.
Yeah.
He said he was arguing with somebody about why you shouldn't rob. And he was trying to say, like, the only way you can prove to a robber why they shouldn't rob at the end of the day is because there's an afterlife.
That doesn't make sense.
Well, because you might say to him why he wouldn't want people to rob him. But why shouldn't he rob other people? Because at the end of the day, if he's the only one doing it and no one's stopping him, well, unless there's an afterlife where he's going to be punished for it for eternity, that's the only reason why he would stop ultimately.
But that's not true. That doesn't make sense.
Why?
Because, like, okay, let's just use reasoning here. Let's say he is the only person robbing people. No one's gonna fucking trust you. Like, no one's gonna want to be around you. They're gonna lock you up. Like, hey, also you're breaking the trust of society. We're gonna have to separate.
But he's not gonna be the only one robbing. Come on. In reality, a lot of people are robbing.
Okay, well,
then your argument isn't a fucking valid argument because you were using this point that he would be the only one.
So how would you like it if that guy robs you? Like, come on. Let's be.
Well, no, I could be the only one robbing.
Well, now this is a stupid circle that you're going in.
Does that make logical? Because they don't just have the Quran and everyone believes it. They have laws, and then they punish you if you do it.
Right.
So that would be the reason not to do it.
Right.
Even if there's no afterlife, it's like, I'm going to get my hand chopped off.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Otherwise, why do you need that part? If the Quran itself and the afterlife is actually convincing, why do you also need to chop the hand stuff?
Right. Exactly.
Why do you need a consequence? So it's just, it's like, and also it's like he asked the guy, because the guy was like, well, I don't want to rob and I don't believe in afterlife. And the guy got really pissed off at that because it's like,
yeah.
He goes, you know what he said? He goes, well, you're being irrational then.
No. Well,
because his thing is the only rational reason why you wouldn't rob ultimately is because there's an afterlife. And so if you're like, no, it makes sense not to do it. The guy's like, you're not being rational because that's not a rational reason. Because like I said, the only reason you would not do it ultimately is because of, and it's like, holy shit, dude. But that just shows the starting point is I want either the religion to be valid or I want to believe in God at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't actually believe in God, but you want other people to. It just depends, again, where that person's at. Like I said, are they in the control or are they just the people who believe in it because they're trying to secure their afterlife?
I wanted to go back to the point of immortality.
Yes.
Like actually believing that you are this character, and then you want that character to experience immortality rather than understanding that, hey, we're here, like you as a being are going to exist, right? Like you're saying, oh, I'm playing Romeo, and after this play, Romeo dies, or I don't exist anymore. Like that was a really good way of putting it. And so we're fighting for this idea of immortality of our character, of our opinions, of like literally of our thoughts. That's it, that we've identified ourselves with. which can change. But if we change them, we experience like a little mini ego death or mini death of that character or whatever. But like those characters need to die. Those thoughts need to die. Like those things need to change, because that is what's upholding the system that we have currently to remain the same as it is. And so even this idea that Elon Musk has of like preserving memories, it's like,
can we just talk about the actual concept itself for a moment?
Of preserving memories, of like the whole, like the Neuralink and all that?
No, or more the point of like, it doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Like, I understand people believe they're their memories. I get that.
Yeah.
But okay, so here, how is it supposed to work? Like, you preserve all your memories. Okay. Now, what if
I made the joke the other day when Katie brought this up. I'm like, oh, Elon Musk is just trying to create the Akashic Records. He's just trying to recreate it. You know?
Well, here, okay, so here's what I was thinking. Like, why isn't this a valid because he's making a product, right? The product ultimately is going to be, we'll keep all your memories, we'll keep them alive. You get a new robot body, maybe we put him in there or something. I don't know. I mean, that's probably actually what they're going to do, isn't it?
I mean, that seems really likely.
Interesting. Okay, but why don't you just, instead of doing all that bullshit, because that's a lot of work, why don't you just copy all the person's memories? Assuming you can, assuming we can actually like store all your memories, why don't you just store them on a hard drive?
They don't animate.
But why does that matter?
Because, you know, we're moving here, and you know, we want to keep all our memories and move.
We would be keeping them in storage.
Okay, but also like they got to move. The memories have to express themselves.
Why?
And that's part of life. You know, like,
well, that's not reasonable.
Well, look, people store their memories in books, but they're not alive. So we want to stay alive. That's immortality. That's what we're talking about.
But here's my point then, okay? Because now you're saying you're not just your memories.
Well,
because the argument was you are just your memories.
Yeah.
And by keeping them alive, by keeping them alive, well, what does it mean for them to be alive?
Well, like moving, animated. So that's why we put them in the robot, because then those memories can be animated.
But what does it mean for a memory to be animated?
Like it's acting out the will of the memories.
Okay, but let's just look for a moment at what a memory is.
Yeah.
A memory is like on your computer, you have a hard drive and you have information. So you have like a register with zeros and ones, and then they're in a certain configuration. That would be a memory.
Right. I know
right.
This. Okay. I created Tesla. I know.
So it's very cool, very cool. So now you have a program that accesses that information and then uses that information to run another program or run a program. And then as part of this process, it potentially will alter that memory and change like a 0 or a 1 or something, or maybe a bunch of them. So it's going to change the memory.
Okay.
Like a computer doesn't have a static set of memories. I know to some degree it does, because there's certain things that have to stay the same, but it also has memory that can change. Even the hard drive, you could delete everything on there and put new information. In fact, when you fill it up, then you go and try to figure out what you can delete.
Yeah.
So which part is your computer? The memories themselves that are actually stored there, or is it the structure of the computer and the processes that it's doing on the memories?
So yeah, that's interesting, because people don't tend to think of their own memories that way. Like they think that, oh, whatever memories I have, that's all it's all brought me to here, and so I have access to. I may not remember every single detail, but I remember things permanently.
But think about this. Okay, today, let's just break it down simple, because I hear what you're saying. Today, you're going to decide what you're going to eat for dinner. Okay, and let's say you choose hamburger.
Yeah.
So eat a hamburger, but you could have chosen spaghetti. If you had chosen spaghetti, you would have that memory.
Mhm.
If you had chosen hamburger, you would have that memory.
But let's say I chose hamburger and it was not good, then I would remember that.
Sure, that would also be a part of the memory, like the experience of it.
And then in the future, I would not choose hamburger.
So, regardless of which of those you choose, is that different memories? Is it like, oh, if I had chosen spaghetti, I would be a totally different person? Because if you are your memories,
Mhm.
then choosing a different thing, which would then affect your experience and have different memories stored about it, would mean you're choosing to be a different person than this person.
Yeah.
So would that be the case?
I think a lot of people would argue yes, actually. And I'm not trying to be like obtuse about it, but I think a lot of people would argue yes, that
What?
that would be the case. If I chose spaghetti rather than hamburger, I would be a different person because perhaps I ate hamburger and I did not like it. And then from then on, I'd be different because I'm never going to choose hamburger again because of that specific memory, because of that moment.
But how can you say you'd be different because of the choices you'd make, of what you might choose? That's not your memories. That's a program, a choice program.
Uh-huh. But
that's not a memory. That's just accessing the memory. Because you could say, but I know that was a bad experience and I'm going to eat hamburger again because maybe I won't have that experience. Like, it's not like having the bad experience forces you to do something. You're still choosing.
Okay, sure. But I'm going to.
So are you just your memories? Or
Yeah.
I understand, but you're saying you're just the memories.
Yeah.
But you're like, no, I'm going to choose. No, there's no I that's doing choosing. You're saying that's not you. You're saying it's just the memories is you.
Yeah.
But everyone knows that's not fucking true.
Uh-huh.
But this is my point. Like, does that make sense what I'm saying? Like,
no, it does make sense.
There's a you that's experiencing the memories. That was my point about bringing up, why don't we just store your memories on a hard drive?
Right.
Like, well, they need to be animated. And I know that's what people say. They need to be alive. And it's like, right, meaning you want to experience them, right? Yes. So you're not just your memories. You're the experience of them. So if, for example, you had the spaghetti versus the hamburger, wouldn't you still be the same person? You're just experiencing different points.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you might be changed in some way by those experiences, but are you saying you would be two radically different people? Or are you the same person, the same being, the same thing, experiencing it over here or going over here and experiencing this instead?
Yeah. That's a really...
Or are you literally, it's a different person in both cases?
So that's the like a philosophical debate, isn't it? Of like, am I the accumulation of my experiences? Because to a certain extent, yeah.
But you can't even. But if you were, then you wouldn't have a problem if you accepted that with just your memories being stored on a hard drive, never being accessed.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you would be living forever.
Yeah.
You would be existing forever.
Yeah. Okay.
Because if you have a program that interacts with those memories, doesn't it change the memories?
It would change the memories. Like, we change our memories all the time as we think of our own memories and recall them. We change our memories.
Right. So why does it matter whether you experience the memories or not? Because if you're just going to randomly change the memories,
people are not aware that they're changing their memories, though.
But I understand that, but I can't argue with somebody who's just not aware of anything. Like,
sure.
Elon Musk is aware of how a computer works.
Yeah.
So if I have a collection of memories, which is just information stored somewhere, and I change that information, okay, let's say I can go and write into the code and make a memory stored there. Because if you can take these memories, you can find a way to copy them and put them onto a computer. You could then hypothetically, maybe an AI could figure out how to write code to create the memories that were never actually experienced.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, but then you would experience them as a memory.
Yeah.
You might say it's not real because it didn't come from reality, but the reality is you would still experience it as if it was real.
Sure.
Assuming that the AI know how to create with all the right details and everything, right? Okay. So I lost my train of thought. I was trying to express there, but what I'm trying to explain is, like, the memory itself is just information written down.
Mhm.
So when you say you are your memories, no one acts as if that's the case.
I agree.
They actually act as if I am the thing experiencing the memories.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, even though people haven't looked at it with common sense, they act as if that's what it is, because that is what it is.
Yeah.
But they believe that as long as those memories can continue to exist, I can live forever. But it's contradicting what they actually like inherently know to be the case, which is that you are the thing experiencing your memories. That was my point of trying to say the spaghetti versus hamburger. You're like, no, in either case, it's me experiencing it.
Yeah.
It would just be a different set of memories. So yeah, I would be different a little bit and so forth. But it's like, so you're a whole new person? You're a different person now? Like if I took your memories and I tweaked one point, right? Like tonight you had hamburger, but I went and changed that in your memory that you had spaghetti.
Yeah.
You don't exist anymore?
No, that version of Drake is gone forever.
You know what I'm saying? Like I died and a new being was born. Like you wouldn't think that. You'd be like, no, just that one little tiny part of me would be changed. Like, do you even remember everything you've ever had for dinner?
Last night? Yeah.
Ever. For every night. Your whole existence.
Give me a date. I'll tell you what I had.
You know what I'm saying? So like you don't even have all the memories of everything you've experienced. You might say they're stored in your body somewhere, but still, even from that perspective, you are experiencing them.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me get to my point. I'm trying to make it clear that you can't just be your memories. That might influence how you experience yourself. It might influence the choices you make because you're working with information, but you can't be your memories.
Yeah.
Okay, what is this? 10 minutes?
Time.
We have to go soon. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll put it this way. Okay.
What is this?
So we agree it doesn't make sense. No one would actually like if I tried to sell you like you can live forever by just take your memories and I'll put them on a hard drive and they'll be stored on a server somewhere forever. They'll never be accessed. They'll never be changed once you're dead. People will be like, that's not fucking what I want. I want to be alive, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So then let's just go a step further and say, well, instead what I'll do is I'll put them into a robot. And then I'll turn the robot on. And then you can live through that and experience more stuff.
That doesn't make sense either, Jimmy.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah. But that is what the fuck they're arguing.
Yeah.
That is what they're actually saying, whether they're putting it into a robot or the cloud or whatever, or whatever it is. That's what they're saying. Like, I'm going to copy all the memories perfectly, 100%, no data loss. Put it over here in this computer or this robot or whatever and turn it on. And you're going to be over there experiencing life and experiencing memories. And I'm like, okay, let's assume that makes sense for a moment. Put it into another one. Put it into 1,000 robots. Are you like...
Which one am I?
Are you... And they're all experiencing different things, so all the memories are now different. So now I look at all those memories. After a few days, they're going to be radically different.
Yeah.
Which one's you? Are you all those memories now?
Yeah.
And you're... No, that because you actually are thinking that you're the observer. And I mean, that's a very charged spiritual word. Let's just say the being that's experiencing it, the awareness of the thing.
Yeah.
That's actually what people inherently know they are. Like when you're thinking about going to heaven, right now you might think, oh, I hope my grandma's there. Right? Because you placing value on that right now.
Yeah.
But if you got to heaven and you saw your grandma, would she look the way you think about her?
Would she even be the same person?
Does she think of herself as a grandma?
Right.
Like when you go to heaven, do you want to be a 70-year-old man?
I'm not even 70 now. Come on, bro.
But you will be. You know what I'm saying?
Chill.
Wouldn't you be like, no, I want to be like a 12-year-old or, or like switch back and forth and do all kinds of things. And like, you wouldn't be.
Probably want to go back to, like 20s where I was like a strapping.
See, but even that, it's like, no, dude, I want to be like a fucking like centaur, or like a dragon, that's
you used
like.
to be a centaur?
Yeah.
That way you got that big. Never mind.
That big giant human body on top of a horse body. Yes,
So that's what I was talking about.
that's what you were gonna say.
Yeah.
But like, so you're actually gonna make heaven subject to what you were here.
Mhm.
Otherwise, what is your grandmother?
Yeah.
Isn't your grandma just another beat? Like, or
Right.
is it she's just a collection of memories?
Yeah.
Do you see, like, so my kind
Yeah,
of
what
basic
you're
point
saying
with all
makes
this
sense.
is like the whole Elon Musk thing. People just from that alone should be like, oh, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
Definitely not.
Now, he knows how to raise money. He knows how to
Yep.
build companies. He knows how to make technologies. He knows how to get you to use them. I'm not questioning that, but does he understand how reality works? Because it's kind of like with the Quran, when you look at it and you're like, okay, but here's an obvious contradiction. They're like, oh yes, but and you're like, okay, you're just rationalizing it. Anybody who's not biased on it can see it doesn't make any fucking sense.
Right.
Because if it actually was convincing, everybody would have already adopted it.
Yeah.
Because there's so many glaring contradictions to Christianity. If it was based on whether you could see contradictions or not, nobody would be Christian anymore. Nobody would be any religion. They would just be like, all right, so now how the fuck do we do?
Yeah.
They'd also look at the system and go, this doesn't make any sense. Why are we doing that? But you're so distracted by trying to figure out, is it one God with two natures, or two gods with three, or is it one with two hypostatics, this and that, and like, and you're like, it's none of that.
Marty, whatever his name is. Can he stay in the house of his mother? Well, actually, because I live with my mother, I'm like, dude, how old are you that you live with your mother? I get it.
That was a weird video.
That was so weird.
But it was interesting that you're like, oh, this guy's actually been kicked out of the church too. And like,
yeah.
And so you just see all this contradiction. So even if you're like, no, I just believe in technology and no, there's no God, it's evolution, all this stuff. And then you go over to like an Elon Musk type and you're like, what they're saying makes no sense.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you read Otherland.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a shit about spoiling it. No one's gonna fucking read it if they haven't read already. Or if they do, they'll probably forget by the time they even finish reading it.
Maybe.
But like at the end, there's like this point where, or not at the very end, but towards the end, where they finally, like the rich people, like upload themselves, right?
Yeah.
But aren't you the whole time going like, but you're dead over here.
Yeah.
And now you're in there, but they never explained how your actual who you are goes from here to there.
Right. Yeah.
It'd be one thing if your body's hooked in and it's just interacting with all of your senses to make you perceive a different reality than this physical one. That's like watching a movie.
Well,
but you actually, your body is totally dead, done, and you are now in the simulation. I'm like, but that's just a computer program that's running. That's not.
Yeah. I without spoiling it, I mean, like, that is part of the problem. That's part of the problem that they see is like, oh yeah, well, this guy's dead, but he's in there, but he's dead.
The bigger problem is like, it's kind of like heaven. How do you know your grandma's in heaven?
Oh, I don't.
Oh, yeah, you know. But I'm saying, okay, let's say everybody starts buying into this like afterlife technology. You could live forever.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of people are just gonna like commit suicide to get into the thing.
Sure.
If it's allowed. Or they'll just accidentally die, and what can you do about it?
Already allowed. You go to this place.
Oh yeah, exactly. Canada's paving the way. Elon Musk should be grateful for all this woke bullshit.
Yeah.
It's making it acceptable.
Come on. Let me just talk about the Neuralink thing real quick. Because like, because that's kind of being used to sell this whole idea is the Neuralink. It's a really big piece of this where, he's talking about.
It's the starting point of you becoming the technology.
Right. Which he's saying, like, it's going to make, like, first they're going to just use people who are, I was going to say dyslexic, disabled.
The dyslexics are the first ones.
Yeah.
When they came for the dyslexics, I didn't speak up. That whole thing.
Yeah. But first they're going to use people who are disabled in some way, and then hook this up to their brain. Because what risks do they have? They're like, oh, I'm going to.
They're like, I'm fucked.
Yeah, exactly.
But that's my point.
Yeah.
They're like, my life's shit anyways. I can only win. Imagine somebody who's got a normal body and is not paraplegic, but they're like, yeah, but I'm shitty anyways. So why don't I just go be in a robot?
Which also, the transmaxing thing, that's what that is. right? It's like somebody's like, I got a shit hand anyway. I hate my life. Might as well just cut
Why don't
some
I just
parts
become a
off.
woman, get
Yeah.
nice fake tits, wear makeup, wear
as
dresses,
hot as
and
I
just
possibly
I can have
can.
sex with as many guys as I want. Maybe I'll just be a lesbian.
Exactly. So, I mean, just looking at that point of, okay, he's selling this, like, first, he's like, oh, we're just using the paraplegics, whatever. And then Lex is like, can I get one? Like, yeah.
He's like, when can
probably-
I get it?
Yeah, when can I get one? Like 10 years, like less than that. Like, oh, so you already have the plan for this person is perfectly fine and he's gonna get one.
Which, by the way, doesn't that contradict his Zuby interview?
100%. And he's saying, like, well, he doesn't really contradict it because he didn't really answer the question.
But he said there's gonna be hundreds of millions. So he's like, oh, it'll be so slow to, you know, yeah.
And he's saying, like, okay, this will make you more advanced than an average person. You'll have superpowers because you'll be able to output at a faster bit rate than what humans can currently do, what typing and writing and speaking and all that, because you'll be directly interfaced with the computer. And he's saying, like, right now, only like 10% of the electrons that they put into this guy, or the electrodes or whatever, that they put into him are even working. So imagine when they get 100% working,
Dude,
how
what
much
if this
faster it will
guy?
be.
What if this guy is the Antichrist, the guy they hooked it into? Because he's the first dude. He like suddenly, it's like Limitless, you know. He's like hooked into all the networks and everything. And he starts controlling the world and shit, and like becoming like he knows all the algorithms.
Yeah.
So he like knows how to present himself to each person as like God and so forth, right?
Yeah.
Like this is what it is. Elon Musk is inadvertently creating like this guy is like the next.
They were talking about
he'll be the prophet, dude. He'll be the only one who can speak from the AI's perspective. He'll be the prophet of. Instead of Allah, it's like some kind of AI. We got to figure out a word like Allah. You know.
So now they have another guy. They have another I lie.
AI Allah. AI Akbar.
Oh wait, you're saying the word that the guy said. That was one of them.
Okay, I'm so close.
Two more.
I have four more to go. Oh, so two more to go. Okay, got two more to go.
Yeah. No, but just that point of like, okay, what he was talking about, it was so cool because he talked about they were talking about listening to a podcast on 2x speed or whatever, or 1.5x speed. And he's like, you can actually get a lot more information out if you have a higher vocabulary, and if you have a higher vocabulary, because you can convey a lot more information with less words, right? And they were using that in the context of like, okay, so with AI or having the Neuralink hooked up to you, like you can get a lot more information in and out because it's directly interfacing, and then you can like communicate with somebody else who has a Neuralink, and it's just like basically instant transfer compared to you and I speaking with our words, right? And so they're using that as the selling point for why you, the average person, would want to go get this thing. And then once they have that, once you're interfaced with the computer and you can access all this information, and the information is not going to be stored on you, it's going to be stored in some cloud somewhere, then it's going to be like, see, we have all your memories. You'll just continue living on forever. And all they have to do is make a show of when you die, oh, look, and we have your AI interface, and everybody else will just accept, okay, look, it's still him.
And it'll just be a computer program, but they won't be able to tell the difference. That's why I was trying to say, how would you even know if your grandma's still in heaven? Like, you won't even know if, I mean, they won't be, but you wouldn't be able to know it because the criteria is you're just interacting with memories. And you're like, oh yeah, that fits my memory of that person. What if they start acting radically different?
Right.
You can't say it's not them because maybe they're making different choices now.
Right. What if your grandma was really mean and then she meets Jesus?
What if she goes to heaven and she's like, I want to be a stripper now? I want to sit on the right hand of God.
All right. That's enough. That's enough for today.
And I'm imagining it being my grandma who's super old.
We're done. All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.